morning, everyone. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Yuma County Board of Supervisors. We'll also be sitting as all special taxing districts. This is the April 5th, 2021, 9 a.m. meeting. We're starting a little bit late, but not too late. All board members are present. If they could attend in person or by telephone or remotely. They're all here. So this is my call to order. Will everybody please stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance? Supervisor Lyons, could you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The first item in the agenda is call to the public. Call to the public is held for the public's benefit. To allow individuals to address issues within the board's jurisdiction, board members may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to Arizona revised statutes, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to criticism, or scheduling the matter for further discussion and a decision at a future date. Anyone who's concerned about COVID-19 does not want to be put in an open setting can submit an email, call to the public statement at publiccomment@yumacountyaz.gov. These email forms of public comment will be accepted until 8 a.m. the morning of the meeting. All public comments will be read out loud during the Yuma County Board of Supervisors meeting that starts at 9 a.m. Christy, do we have any emails?
Yes, we have one.
All right.
This is from Valerie and Dale Gleave on Ironwood Drive. They write, "We have lived in the foothills for 7 years. We love this area, but have always been concerned about the lack of a park or green space you usually see in a residential development. It is a positive for attracting additional residential and commercial development, as experts in the field will concur. I am in total support for this green space and park development and hope you will consider expediting this application and choosing a location for the park."
All right. Thank you. Let the record reflect it's been read. Anyone else here in the public that wants to address the board on an item that is not in the agenda? This will be the time. Okay, hold on, one at a time. We want your name, just your name. We know. Yeah, you can put your address in the record if you want to, but don't,
It's
bank account, we don't.
Gene Dalby, 1183 West 37th Street. Good morning. Another beautiful day in Yuma County. And I saw on your agenda that you are hopefully going to proclaim that April is the Employee Appreciation Month. Well, part of my message today as a citizen and as your employer, I thought that I would extend to you my appreciation for what you do, and know that you have to put up with all sorts of issues with respect to the general public, but perseverance pays off. And I guess with respect to the advancement of bicycling in the Yuma County area and many of the municipalities, I know the fact that perseverance does pay off. So thank you for what you do, and keep doing it. You might be interested in knowing that Crossroads Mission has a bike shop, and that as a result of that, we have received numerous donations. Some bikes are very usable and repairable and sellable. Others are unfortunately turned into recycled steel and generate a little bit of extra cash for the bike shop in that regard. We have a pretty good mechanic, and so if you know people that have bicycles hanging up in their garage, or they have flat tires or whatever, don't hesitate to bring them over, make a donation to Crossroads Mission, and further their benefits. The Tour de Fields is going to be held on November 6th, and we're in the planning stages of that right now. It will start and finish in Somerton this year, so we're looking forward to the enthusiasm and the participation. In November, it'll be a little bit better opportunity for the fields to be in the development, growing mode, so that there'll be more to see out there than there has been in the past. San Luis is doing a wonderful job with the update of their general plan, and you're probably aware of that, and including in that are many comments regarding bicycles that are appropriate to their transportation needs. We look forward to the opportunity of them becoming a bicycle-friendly community of the League of American Bicyclists. It's kind of an extensive application, but covers a lot of bases and puts it on a national list of bicycle-friendly communities.
All right.
There was a national summit for the League of American Bicyclists that I attended, and it was a virtual attendance, so it was at home and a little more convenient than flying to Washington. But it was a wonderful opportunity. Some new things coming out that will be kind of foreign to our thinking is, one, to consider doing away with the ordinance regarding the requiring of bicycle helmets. That some cities have a requirement that goes all the way up to the adult lifestyle, and it's becoming a bit of a problem with respect to stops and citations by the police officers, and then it aggravates the situation and develops into a problem. So we're thinking that there's probably going to be a better mode of equalizing things and just doing away with that and putting the mind, just like the seatbelt, you know, it's now become such a habit, at least for me. I get in the car, I buckle the seatbelt and do that before I start the car. You know, it's just part of the sequence. Hopefully it gets to that with the bicycle helmet someday. And lastly, I would like to say that I think building your new building on Avenue B is a good idea. Thank you very much. God bless you guys. Look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you,
Thank
Jim.
you.
I do have a form here, a speaker form from Douglas East.
Good morning. Thank you for taking the time. I'm here to talk about new technology I'm trying to introduce to the county here. It's been around for 10 years. Nobody I've talked to has heard of it. It's by Eris. It's active pure technology, and what it is, it's an air and surface protectant. It removes 99.9% of all virus, bacteria, mold, and fungus in the air we breathe and everywhere the air touches. The big difference between this technology and other ones that you've seen is the protecting of the surface. The system does not require the air to pass through the system to trap or destroy the pathogens. It puts out. It sends out hydroxyl groups. They are extreme oxidizer agents. They are on the molecular level. It puts them out at a rate of about, when the molecules leave the unit, they're traveling at about 1,000 feet per minute. It has to do with the gas laws. Everything's trying to reach an equilibrium as fast as it can. These molecules seek out and destroy. They have an affinity because of the way they're made. Anything that's in the air that's a pathogen, it'll take care of smoke, dust, VOCs as well, and there's a long list of bacteria and all of the viruses. All the viruses are pretty much the same. They have a shell that goes out, it penetrates the shell and destroys its living environment. It's been used, it was developed for NASA and has been the air purification system for the Space Lab from day one. It's being used in hospital ICUs, it's being used in baseball locker rooms, and many other schools and public buildings around the nation. And I'm trying to get a foothold here. I want you to know about it, so when you hear about it, and you might have some other ideas. I've included an article from Dallas that speaks of a school district there and what they've discovered, and they're using it. And also, this is for now. This would help and greatly solve the problem we're having today. However, in the future, it also, there's studies that show it reduces the absenteeism in schools due to the common flu, colds that are passed around the students. They go home, it gets stuck there, and it exacerbates itself. So this is for now. This is for the future. This is a way to stabilize the environment that we live in our homes, and everywhere we are inside. I wanted to put one there, but it wasn't proper. And I could tell you if one was sitting there, within 3 minutes, there would be zero bacteria, viruses, mold, or fungus spores in this room that could do any damage whatsoever. It takes about 7 hours for it to get on every surface and purify every surface, every nook and cranny that the air reaches. After that, it's 724. So the air is permeated, concentrated with these molecules. If somebody walks in or if something comes in and it's contaminated, it's immediately neutralized, killed.
Mr. East,
Yes.
you know, I know the presentation, and we do have your booklet here.
Yes.
And what I recommend is, for the way that we do procurement, it has to go through an RFP, especially if it's a system, like an outside system like this, a purifying system. So what I would recommend is that you do contact the county administrator, who can probably direct you to the purchasing department, which will then give you instructions on how to go through the process. It is very timely. And, you know, I did have an opportunity at least to look at your brochure, and it looks very interesting. We normally think of air purification systems as something that has to go through the system. This is a different approach to it, and it's a novel approach, but you don't have to explain it all to us. By the time it gets to us, it's been mostly decided
totally
anyway.
understand,
So,
but, yeah.
you know,
I'm sorry.
but no, and then that's what I mean. I mean, you know, there's some things that sell themselves. This is one of those. So, you know, get through, you made your point, you plan to use the seed, and now get through the process of the RFP, the request for proposals, and see where we can actually make a decision on it.
I've been to every school in the district, probably every bar, every restaurant, every.
Wow.
And so I've been through that process. Thank you. I will follow your direction in trying to work with the city and the county.
county, yeah.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mr.
Have
Doug.
a
Thank
great
you,
day.
Doug.
Mr.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I do have Walter Richard, but that's on the Pacific Southwest, and then somebody else that's on one of the items under the presentation system. We do have some extra room, I think, next to us here. There is I suppose there is a TV or something, if you guys don't want to be crowded like that. But you know, you can choose to do one or the other. I'm going to try to move through this process so that I can get some space made on the room itself. The next item in the agenda is presentations, proclamations, and appointments. Thank you, Gene. And during this segment of the agenda, board members may discuss the presentations, proclamations, and may announce appointments to the Yuma County Planning and Zoning Commission and the Yuma County Board of Adjustment. There will be no legal action taken. Are there any appointments from the board members? If not, then I'll move on to the presentations. And the first presentation is a presentation of the county line by Yuma 77, the Yuma County Government Channel. Okay.
Welcome to this special edition of the County Line, where we will be introducing the nominees for the 2020 County Employee of the Year, Court Employee of the Year, and the Safety Excellence Award. Across Yuma County, over 1,200 employees work to provide local services to a community larger than some states. Every day, these people provide the labor and expertise required to ensure all of us enjoy life in Yuma County. With COVID-19 present for most of 2020, many employees had to come up with creative and innovative ways to ensure county services were provided. We take time to recognize some of those who have stood out. This year, 4 county employees have stood out among their peers and have been nominated for the 2020 Yuma County Employee of the Year. Brenda Cervantes with the Library District, nominated by Lisa Mendez.
Brenda embodies qualities like teamwork, customer service, and creativity. She actually created our 100-year logo that we used to celebrate the Heritage Library this year. She made Booker Bear in a cartoon form, and we've used him in all kinds of advertisements. During COVID-19, she was one of our first staff members to embrace the virtual story time. She noticed that some of our brochures weren't translated into Spanish, and she took it upon herself to translate those. And those are the kind of qualities that you look for in an employee, to do things without asking, to help out around the library and make the library a better place.
Jessica Rodriguez with Human Resources, nominated by Felicia Frausto.
COVID for us really impacted the county as a whole, and Jessica willingly accepted the fact that here's a time of situation that our employees needed us, and she felt that it was necessary that she would be that voice for them and the go-between between their personal situations that they had and the employer. She wanted to remind them, it's okay, I'm here for you, I will help you, walk you through this process, and if there's any other additional support, I will provide you that and assist you. The heartfelt time that she took to be able to address those issues with people and to hear their stories and still come around to say, I enjoy coming to work every day, was my reasons why I nominated her for Employee of the Year.
Jesus Cervantes with the ITS department, nominated by Cliff Summers.
Jesus is a go-getter. I call him the architect of the county security program. The security program consists of outreach for our internal team members for Yuma County. It also has a component that has outreach for the community as well. Every October we have the National Cybersecurity Month, and during that time there's outreach where the public can actually engage with cybersecurity professionals in order to get information that will help them in their day-to-day lives. On top of that, Jesus is part of various organizations, community groups within his community, and then also with Arizona Western College that provides some kind of guidance towards not only the cybersecurity realm but also IT in general.
Brenda Mendez with Financial Services, nominated by Gil Villegas.
Brenda earned her nomination to the Employee of the Year because she has gone above and beyond her regular job duties. In particular, her work with different agencies and different departments, acquiring protective equipment. She has been playing an instrumental role trying to get the vendors, trying to get the supplies that we need so we can be safe. She's always willing to take on challenges. She's always willing to work. She makes sure that all the invoices are in compliance. She makes sure that the proper documentation is attached to the invoice. So in the event of an audit, we have our supporting documentation saying that it was a legitimate purchase. She's always asking questions, and that's motivating her to learn more and advance throughout her career.
Next up, we'll introduce you to the 3 court employees who stood out in 2020 and were nominated for the 2020 Court Employee of the Year. Aaron Ballos with the Superior Court, nominated by Kathy Shaben.
I nominated Erin for Court Employee of the Year based on the fact that she had taken on a huge undertaking of planning and bringing forward the project of creating Veterans Treatment Court. And so she moved forward with that and brought all the stakeholders together. She has the respect of all of the team, and she regularly goes out with members of the Veterans Court Treatment team to present to community organizations and events and bring the word about Veterans Treatment Court. She believes in the mission. She believes in the ability of all to improve and to get past whatever issues they may have in their lives. And certainly she thinks that veterans should have that opportunity as well.
Daniel Saucedo with Juvenile Court, nominated by Tim Hardy.
Daniel Saucedo was the most efficient and professional person, and he has that ability to not make you feel like you don't know anything about IT. And so every time I'd call him, Daniel, can you help? Yes, Mr. Tim, I'll be right there. He never let anything bother him. If he was in the middle of a project and somebody called, he was there. He has really moved the juvenile court along, and IT people here at the court, not only are they dealing with the court, but we have a high school they're dealing with detention, and all systems are different. And for somebody to retain the knowledge that he did and to remain the utmost professional, that's one of a kind.
Stephanie Plow with Adult Probation, nominated by Lucero Santana.
Stephanie is my supervisor, and I decided to nominate her because I think she is very helpful as a supervisor. She's a great leader. She's always taking initiative, and she's always trying to help us be better. She's always looking for training opportunities, whether if it's virtual, in person, in order for us to be able to gain more skills. She is not one to try to teach you to do it her way. She's actually always looking for different interventions in order for us to be able to find solutions. And she helps us to think outside the box and to go through training to be able to, for ourselves, figure out solutions.
Those are your County and Court Employee of the Year nominees for 2020. We now want to take a moment to recognize some county employees who went above and beyond to ensure safety in Yuma County and have been nominated for the Safety Excellence Award. Miguel Saldana, Juvenile Court. Sherry Harden, Sheriffs. Jesus Aguilar, Public Works. Adolfo Lopez, Public Works. Emilia O'Donnell, Administration. Miguel Parra, Facilities Management. Daniel Salcido, Juvenile Court. Donette Villegas, Adult Probation. Michael Herrera, Public Works. Brenda Mendez, Financial Services. Jose Gomez, Public Works. Robert Torres, Adult Probation. Congratulations to all the Employee of the Year nominees from the county and the court, and also to those nominees of the Safety Excellence Award who helped keep the county safe. Winners of each category will be announced at the next Board of Supervisors meeting on Monday, April 19th. We'd like to thank you for joining us for this County Line. If you'd like to watch past episodes, log on to yumacountyaz.gov/VOD. And don't forget, you can join us live on Facebook. We'll see you next time.
I don't know. I keep waiting for her to do the Balkan thing, you know, with the, whenever she waves off, but she still hasn't done it. I do want to, before you come up, Susan, you know, comment on the fact that we do miss that presentation at the old theater. And it's an opportunity to see some of you. I know there's so many employees in Yuma County, and every one of them makes it a special place to work. But, you know, it's unfortunate that all we can do is a remote thing. I mean, we're still not totally out of the woods with this COVID stuff so that we could do it in person, but we do certainly miss the opportunity to see all of you. But we do want you to know that we appreciate everything you do, and that's what makes being a part of Yuma County administration so special, or Yuma County in general so special. So Susan, come up, and you want to say something? The next item on the agenda, the special recognition. All right, does anybody want to say anything? You know, again, we'll announce the winners next board meeting, and hopefully we'll dispense some cash at the same time. All right, well, the next item on the agenda is a special recognition of Candy Wheeler Ruby on her retirement as public fiduciary and of Claudia Ramirez as the interim public fiduciary. So could you please step up? You know, Candy, I want to say you look younger than when you came to the Board of Supervisors. I don't know how you did that, but you need to let us all know in on the secret here, because you seem too young to retire. And I know it's not the mask, you know that, but.
Thank you, Chairman Reyes. I just appreciate all the opportunities I've had here at the county. I know that I had a lot of people that took chances on me throughout the way, and I just really appreciate it. It's just been an amazing journey. So, thank you.
And we'll introduce Claudia, and then I have a few things to give to.
So this is Claudia Ramirez. She has been my deputy for a number of years, and she's now the interim public fiduciary.
You know, you can take your mask off so we really know who you are. You know, at this particular time, there you go.
Grateful for the opportunity, and hopefully I can follow the steps of Candy in keeping our office where it's been and even higher.
Yeah. Well, we're looking forward to Candy. I'm sorry that you're going to miss your new location, because we are looking forward to building a new location. So if you want to come back, we're always open. I think Claudia can to that. So thank you very much. I mean, you know, you move that department forward so rapidly and so fast that most of us just didn't realize what's going on. And remember, we were at one point in time thinking of a new cemetery. We were dealing with BLM, and then the crematorium happened, and all of a sudden life changed. It's like losing Blockbuster, right? We don't need that much space anymore, and indigent services really improved. And you did it all out of this crumpy old building out there that most people do not know, but you made it so efficient that most of us can tell you, I can tell you that the less we hear about a department, the better off we always are. You know, that's because people are taking care of business and it doesn't get to us. There was very, very few issues that I can remember you bringing to the board for their decision. That wasn't something to move the process forward or to make it better. So we do appreciate that. I do, and I think the rest of the board does too.
Thank you. It's, you know, it's a second half of a journey. You know, there was some reasons, you know, personal reasons that I needed to go ahead and take this time. But it's, you know, it's kind of bittersweet. So I thank you very much.
So we do have a few candidate. She actually is getting her 25-year recognition this year. So here's the pin and certificate. And this is the plaque that we give all the 25-year recipients, so you get to see that for all the others that you'll see on the screen when I present them. And of course, as in her official role as public fiduciary, she's been here a little bit longer than 25 years. She's been here since March of 1995. So we wanted to recognize her in all of her years of service.
We gotta take a picture. You don't have to match, guys. Yeah. Well, a picture. I've been instructed by anywhere. Get up here, get ready for a picture. So. No, she's coming.
I've known Candy since she used to swim at Kennedy Pool.
Oh, my goodness.
So that's the key. Yeah, well. I know, man, I'm holding on to my jacket here. Okay, now, we're gonna take one without mask.
Oh,
1, 2, 3.
Who's been vaccinated?
Go ahead.
All right, thank you.
I beat every category of risk.
There you go.
I got mine in my phone.
I have mine on my phone.
All
Yeah, I
right,
put that there too.
thank you, Ruby, again. And we'll move on to proclamations, and we'll begin with the proclamation that proclaims Public Health Week in Yuma County, the week of April the 5th through the 11th, and this will be done by Supervisor Porches.
Proclaiming the week of April 5th to 11th, 2021 as Public Health Week in Yuma County. Whereas the week of April 5th to 11th, 2021 is National Public Health Week, and the theme is Building Bridges to Better Health. And whereas public health professionals help communities prevent, prepare for, withstand, and recover from impact of a full range of health threats, including disease outbreaks such as COVID-19 pandemic, measles, natural disasters, and disasters caused by human activity. And whereas there is a significant difference in health status among people living in rural areas such as obesity, mental health, and drug use, compared with people living in urban areas, because rural residents are often more likely to face social determinants that negatively impact health, such as poverty and transportation barriers, and whereas public health action together with scientific and technology advances has played a major role in reducing and in some cases eliminating the spread of infectious disease and establishing today's disease surveillance and control systems. And whereas now, more than ever, it is important to involve in public health conversations to further understand the value of public health and to continue building strong public health systems for sustaining and improving community health. Now, therefore, I, Marco Tony Reyes, Chairman of the Yuma County Board of Supervisors, proclaim the week of April 5th to 11, 2021 to be Public Health Week in Yuma County.
Thank you, Martin. I always like it when you mention the name, you know, and say I something. You know, you're a good-looking guy. All right, we're gonna move on then. Thank you, Martin. And is anybody here to pick up? Oh, there you go.
There she is.
All right. So you have the podium. I was moving right along. I was moving right
I'm here
along.
at every meeting. It's okay. Thank you so much for the proclamation. I have a couple of my staff here. I just want to thank them for all the hard work every year, but in particularly this year, which was just, you know, something very, very different than what we were accustomed for. So just.
Oh, no, go continue. Now I got back
You're
to my seat.
leaving.
No, I was going over to give you this, but.
Can you bring up
Can you
your
bring
staff?
up your staff?
Maria, Kathy, and Tina.
There you go.
So this is my nursing team, my deputy director. And so again, we have a whole building of staff, and you know, for the past year, just making sure that people had PPE, distributing thousands, hundreds of thousands of PPE items, making sure we do contact tracing, making sure we distributed testing kits, making sure vaccine clinics were available at multiple locations throughout the county so that we had equitable access. And so again, it's just another thing that we do, and we're going to continue to do that and move through this pandemic and continue to do the regular public health work that's so important to our community.
I just didn't want you to, you got a report to give later, so let's go. Guys, let's give her
Yes.
a proclamation. We don't get a chance to see the health department without him all together. Hey, everybody, flag up.
Where are you?
He's tall. He's tall. There you go. It's fine, okay. Let me do it sideways. We okay?
Yeah.
Go back. You know,
We're good.
we get to say that when the health department report comes up. Yeah. Oh, you're leaving, huh?
Bye, guys. Go. Yeah.
We gotta go to
Thank
work.
Thank you for all you do.
We said the check's in the mail, but we would be. The next item is proclamation proclaiming the month of April 2021 as Fair Housing Month, and that would be Supervisor Pankrat.
Good morning. Proclaiming the month of April 2021 as Fair Housing Month. Whereas April 2021 marks the 53rd anniversary of the National Fair Housing Act, which emphasizes a national policy of fair housing, and whereas Title VIII of the Civil Rights Act of 1968 affirms the right of all citizens to equal housing opportunities free of discrimination based on color, race, religion, national origin, sex, disability, or familial status, and whereas the Board of Supervisors wish to create equal housing opportunities for all persons living, working, traveling through, or doing business in Yuma County, and whereas implementation of the fair housing policy of Yuma County requires positive commitment, involvement, and support from each and every one of our citizens, and whereas Fair Housing Month is a time set aside each year to remind citizens that we not only have the right to own and rent property, but we also have the individual responsibility to guard that right from any infringement. Therefore, I, Marco A. Tony Reyes, Chairman of the Yuma County Board of Supervisors, hereby proclaim the month of April 2021 to be Fair Housing Month.
Got it. Thank you. I look better every time. Thank you very much. Is there some? Oh, there it is. There she is.
Yes?
Yeah.
All right. Hold on, guys.
All right. You want to say something?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, fair housing is a very important month for us, especially right now with the pandemic. We are working with the city of Yuma, the WACOG, different jurisdictions to bring a fair housing conference, and that's in the works right now.
Oh, good.
Well, thank you very much for all you do, and I was looking forward to that speech I get to give every time we have this event.
Me too.
But,
Okay.
I'm going to lose practice the way it's going. So. All right. And
Now I'll be in the back. You guys, if you don't touch, you look like 10 feet apart.
hey, horses, be careful when you grab horses.
You are bad.
I'm gonna read that.
No escape.
There's no money in that wallet, he just came back from vacation.
Wait a minute. Thank you, Supervisor Brian Cressy. And we move on to the next proclamation, which is a proclamation proclaiming the month of April 2021 as Yuma County Government Employee Appreciation Month, and that would be done by Supervisor Simmons.
All right, proclaiming the month of April 2021 as Yuma County Government Employee Appreciation Month. Whereas Yuma County and its employees play essential roles in keeping our community safe and secure by preserving public health and well-being, ensuring public safety, and promoting local economies while providing professional and dedicated public services. And whereas Yuma County and its employees take their roles seriously in protecting and enhancing the health, welfare, and safety of citizens in our community, and to delivering effective quality services while containing costs through efficient use of local tax dollars. And whereas Yuma County is one of the 15 counties in the state of Arizona responsible for serving the needs of every resident, Yuma County reflects the wide diversity of people, culture, and landscape in our state, with Yuma County employees having a reputation for quality and excellence. And whereas the Board of Supervisors appreciate and acknowledge our employees who demonstrate integrity, commitment, and dedicated service each and every day on behalf of our community. Now therefore, Yuma County proclaims the month of April 2021 as Yuma County Government Employee Appreciation Month.
Thank you. Anything you want to say, Mrs. Frosto?
Would like to say good morning, Chairman Reyes, members of the board. Thank you to all Yuma County employees for all that they do. For the month of April, we definitely want to be able to find ways that we are able to recognize them. I'd like to introduce two of the members of the Employee Relations team that have been a part of the whole process of getting preparation for the Employee of the Year Service Awards, as well as the upcoming Employee of the Year nominations, and then who we selected. To my right is Oscar Chavez III. He's an Employee Relations Specialist. To my left is Paulina Paz, and she's our newest Employee Relations Specialist. And so I know that Oscar would like to briefly just highlight some of the activities that we are going to be offering to our employees in the month of April. Oscar?
Good morning, Chairman Reyes, members of the board. My name is Oscar Chavez, Employee Relations Specialist. I am here. I'm excited to present to you. The month of April is Years of Service Employee Appreciation Month. So we'll be starting off this month with the Years of Service presentation today at the board meeting. We will also, sorry, I'm nervous.
You're doing great.
Good. We'll also be having an Employee Appreciation Movie Night. That's going to be April 16th. We'd like to thank Lisa Mendez and the Library District for allowing us to host that event again. Popcorn, Dippin' Dots, all free to Yuma County employees and their household members. Social distancing will be practiced, and face coverings and masks will be mandatory for the event. So we're really excited to have that.
What movie?
Trolls World Tour.
Oh, good. That'll be a good one. Okay.
You can break out your guitar and come join us.
Yeah, really, huh?
Also, April 19th, Monday at the Board of Supervisors meeting, we'll be showing our nominees for the Employee of the Year for Superior Court and Yuma County, and we'll also be delivering the winners of those awards as well. And are we clear to
Oh, later.
Oh, wonderful. And that's all I have to report.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You will be back later. Felicia, where's the resolution?
Right here.
Go ahead. All right, got it. Let's go out there and give it to them.
I've been down here for months.
You know, I put the mask on, then when I get here, I took it off, and it's, you know, they don't. I don't know, this doesn't feel right. Unusual, huh?
You're bad.
I see all the stuff you have in the back of your, I see all the stuff you have in the back of your truck. I mean, I'm not sure what that's for, but. Anyway, thank you very much, and we'll move on to the next proclamation, which is where we proclaim the month of April 21st as County Government Month. in Yuma County, and this will be done by Supervisor Lyons. Supervisor?
Proclaiming the month of April 2021 as County Government Month in Yuma County. Counties matter. Whereas the nation's 3,069 counties, parishes, and boroughs, serving more than 300 million Americans, provide essential services to create healthy, safe, and vibrant communities. And whereas counties provide public health services, administer justice, keep communities safe, foster economic opportunities, and much more. And whereas Yuma County and all counties take pride in our responsibility to protect and enhance the health and well-being and safety of our residents in efficient and cost-effective ways. And whereas under the leadership of the National Association of Counties, President Gary Moore, NACO is now demonstrating how counties matter, especially in supporting residents and businesses during the coronavirus pandemic. And whereas each year since 1991, the National Association of Counties has encouraged counties across the country to elevate awareness of the county responsibilities, programs, and services. And whereas all county officials, employees, school, and residents are encouraged to participate in government celebration activities. Now, therefore, Yuma County proclaims the month of April 2021 as the County Government of the Month.
Thank you.
Tony Reyes.
Yeah. Is anyone going to pick that up? You, Susan? You want to say anything about the NACO or the counties?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, thank you for this proclamation. It coincides with National County Government Recognition Month across the country, and as you heard, more than 3,000 counties serve their local residents with essential services, and we're proud to serve residents and businesses of Yuma County. Our over 1,200 employees, and I'm going to recognize a number of them today for their years of service. So thank you for this proclamation.
Thank you. And let's go
And we're taking
down. Yeah, take a picture. Yeah, we never take a picture. We never take a picture with you.
Never had to take pictures with you guys.
Never?
Here,
There's a first for everything.
there is a first. Really?
Yeah,
Come on,
yeah.
Ian. Come on, Ian.
All right.
Susan, come on. Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, 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 you were there.
Come to the center, Ian.
Yeah,
you can go ahead. No, it's tickling. Susan, you never taken a picture, you didn't take your mask off, so nobody would know it's you anyway.
Mine on.
Okay, well, that takes care of the presentations, proclamations, and appointments, and we move on to the bulk of the agenda. Well, no, we still have a special discussion and action item, which is the 2020 Employee Recognition Ceremony. For those who are waiting, we will try to get through this fairly quick, and I know some of you are waiting. So, would you come forth, Susan, and explain this? Or who's coming forward? Felicia? Okay. Oh, the PowerPoint. Oh, the dreaded PowerPoint.
Death by PowerPoint.
Celebrated PowerPoint to recognize our employees.
So, County Administration, recognition, Yuma County employees for their year of services.
So, good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm here to recognize 194 employees in our years of service. We normally provide a recognition at the historic downtown theater, and we have each employee come forward and receive their certificate or their plaque of recognition and their pins for years of service. And unfortunately, because of COVID, this is the second year we've not been able to do our traditional presentation. So I do want to recognize each and every employee and call their name to make sure that they are recognized. Oh, I need the clicker. Or unless you want to do it.
Look, it feels just like in the
So we have 194 employees with a combined 2,775 years of service dedicated to Yuma County, which is pretty impressive. We have 48 employees have 5 years of service. 50 employees have 10 years. At 15 years of service, we have 31 employees to be recognized. 20 years, we have 30 employees. 25 years, 21 employees. 30 years, 11 employees. One employee at 35 years, and
Move too fast for you,
That's
huh?
wonderful.
You have 2 employees for 40 years.
2 employees at 40 years, which we're going to do a special recognition. We do have 1 employee at 40 years who is here with us today, so we want to recognize him. So as I mentioned, I'm going to call their names because this is the only opportunity we get to recognize them for their dedication. Mauricio Gomez, Jonathan Briones, Brooke Aguiar, Yvette Garcia, Veronica Garcia, Eric Johnston, Christina Nye, Javier Coronado, Francisco Gutierrez Silva, Elizabeth Huerta Nunez, Monica Escalante, Carla Vasquez, Francisco Hernandez, Jose Moreno, Kristen McManus, Martine Alvarado, Anna Gomez Berber, Lourdes Rose, Alba Maron, Claudia Montoya Pulido, Marcela Valenzuela, Gary Eiton, Donald Jacobs Jr., Nicholas Orta, Abe Avila, Emmanuel Alvarez, Lisette Amaya, William Babb, Jesus Beltran, Michael Cooper Jr., Martha Dominguez, Francis Esparza, Neoma Hennings, Louise Hennings, Elisa Lugo Hansen, Gabriela Mendez Juarez, Lucas Mickle, Carlos Olmos, Daniel Perez, Mario Rivera, Nancy Ruiz, Isabel Shadle, Diana Souza, Maria Valle, Minerva Ariano, Emilia Matherton, Shariah Montgomery, Katie Strom, and Sarah Arias. For our 10 years of service, Marla Oust, Roxana Calloway, Matthew Fox, Ruth Gonzalez, Annette Hernandez, Juan Ortiz, Teresa Alvarez, Ana Rojas, George Amaya Jr., Raul Hernandez, Robert Rico, Guadalupe Vargas, Francis Herrera, Katie Holman, Annette Perez, Gina Acevedo, Jessica Arciniega, Jesus Cervantes, Omar Hernandez, Davy Smith.
Yay, Davy Smith.
Reina Curiel, Oscar Bindel, Alfredo de la Torre, Maria Martinez, Raul Mesa Jr., Jorge Nunez, Hinton Stevens, Alexis Urstuzastigi, Cecilia Green, Rosa Agundez, Lisa Mendez, Georgina Puga, Jose Perez Reyes, Francisco Ruiz, Juan Arciniega, Gloria Brass, Eleazar Villa Celaya, Ofel Diaz, Ashley Guerra, Oscar Ortiz, Sergio Padilla, Maritza Rubio, Francisco Perez Sarmiento, Edith Reveles, Maria Rosales, Kenneth Thrillkill, Cesar Faz, Daniel Harris, Julie Knowlton, Yvette Lopez. Our 15 years of service, 31 individuals include Frank Ralph Brown, Jose Perez, Donette Villegas, Deborah White, Carol Ramasco, Cynthia Ramos, Timothy White, Jacob Duchesne, Jose Gutierrez, Ramon Guerrero Jr., Elsa Garcia, Martha Rodriguez, Lorraine Tomasetti, Felicia Frausto, Pamela Isedo, Imelda Ariano Nunez, Daniel Ornelas, Charlie Santa Cruz, Saul Robles, Leonel Ruiz, Michelle Callahan, Javier Hernandez, Diana Juarez, Maritza Rubio, Arturo Oviedo, Noe Felix Silva, August Turner, Elizabeth Chairez Acosta, Maria Leffler, Miguel Gonzalez, and Nino. Our 20 years of service recognees. Rosemarie Barbie, Edgardo Gonzalez, Eva Messiamoni, Harleen Stamp, Desiree Doughton, Angelica Camacho, Cynthia Baisi, Elizabeth Canella, Gilberto Villegas Jr., Fernando Desarden, Tricia Cannell, Anel Torres, Deborah Hancock, Glenda Courier, Rudy Acosta, Yesenia Garcia, Mike Hankins, Lisa Klauk, Chuck Fincher, Ruben Amaya, Israel Amadisto, Renee Bowen, Jay Carlson, George Pesky, Mario Roldan, Veronica Vasquez, Maria Vasquez, James Womack, Aaron Ballos, Sandra Rios. With 25 years of service, Benjamin DeCourse, Hugo Esquivel, Cynthia Jocelyn, Diana Campos, Javier Barraza, Maria Maggie Castro, Donald Hamilton, Yolanda Martinez, Jessica Atondo, Cliff Summers, Laura De Leon, Billy Hockheimer, Leobardo Mendez, and Arthur Steve Duran. Candy Wheeler Ruby, Santos Guerrero, James Holland, Norazel Mejia Rico, Kenneth Thomas, Joseph Brito, Catherine Dreyer. With 30 years of service, we recognize Jessica Torres, Belinda Bodner, Loretta Ginger Hamilton, Dolores Smith, Maria Nunez, Martine Mendez, Ignacio Galindo, Lisa Schaefer, Louis Rivera, Henry Hernandez, and Imelda Figueroa. With 35 years of service, Jack Lair. And with 40 years of service, Patricia Magana and John Lund. And we do have Mr. John Lund here today to be recognized. John, if you'll come forward, please.
Well, he is forward. Yep.
So with 40 years of service, we had already given John his pen because he had wanted it ahead of time. Oh, no, we didn't. Did we give you your pen? I thought we did. So John gets a certificate and a 40-year lapel pin. Wow. As well as a plaque, John L. Lund, Engineering, in recognition of your 40 years of loyal and dedicated service to Yuma County. Would you like to say something?
Yeah, you want to keep working, huh?
Yes, we need you.
You know, 40 years ago, God opened doors for me to work for Yuma County. Back then with Yuma County Highway Department. And then later on, you changed the name to Yuma County Public Works Department. And then 1992, Yuma County Department of Development Services. And 2005, we moved to a brand new building. It's still Yuma County Department of Development Services. And, you know, all the years I've been there, didn't have to move very far. Okay. And then a couple years ago, now we're part of the new department, Department of Engineering. So I've been 40 years with engineering, with the engineering division and Department of Engineering. So anyway, I enjoy working for Yuma County. Very job, very duty, very tough. Never a dull moment. So, and I thank you for the opportunity when, especially when I first came to the county. I didn't know they're going to hire me because I have hearing disability, and they didn't even look at that. They just look what I'm able to do, you know, to perform the duty of the position. So, you know, I thank God for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, a picture, a picture.
Yes.
picture moment.
Picture. Checks in the mail.
He just came back from vacation, so there's no money there right now. I'll wait for next
I
meeting.
saved some when I came back. It was Mexican. Before you go on, we do have Maria Nunez here. She celebrates her 30th anniversary, so I just want to acknowledge that she's out there in the back too, and 30 years. Especially in the nursing department, you have to be good to those people. It's really good. All right, thank you, Susan. Anything else? No, you're moving away, so I guess it must mean nothing. So is there something else that you guys want to add before we move on to the next item? They're conferring in the back there, Alicia. No, nothing? We're moving on. All right, the next item on the agenda is the consent calendar, and the following items are listed under the consent agenda and will be considered as a group and acted upon in one motion with no separate discussion unless a board member so requests. In that event, the item will be removed from the consent calendar for separate discussion and action. Item number 5, we want to pull out. Item number 6, we want to pull out. So any other items? I mean, I wanted to pull out item number 9, but the chair fits in here. So
Yeah. Well, just make a quick comment too on number 9. I don't want to pull it, but the 4 trucks that's replacing are going to go to San Luis to augment their desert area patrol. So
Good.
all right. I just wanted to, look, we're pulling item number 9.
Yes,
so we
we
can
are.
talk about it a little bit, okay? Because I think
Okay.
we're already started with it. So it will be 5, 6, and 9 so far. Any other items to be pulled out? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve consent calendar items 1 through 10, with the exception of 5, 6, and 9.
So moved.
Second.
Then motion and second to approve consent calendars item 1 through 10, with the exception of 5, 6, and 9. All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
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 Okay, anybody opposed? The motion carries, and we move on to open item number 5, which is for the county administrator to appoint William Fox as interim Yuma County legal defender, effective April 17, 2021, but there's a real reason why we opened this one up. So Susan, will you take us there?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we do have William Fox, who we're recommending as the interim interim legal defender, but we also wanted to take an opportunity to recognize Terry Kaposi, if she could come forward.
Yeah, Terry, come up. Yeah. You know, we sometimes don't get a chance to say it, but as I've said before with Ruby, I was present during your appointment, and to say that it wasn't an easy one, it's an understatement.
Was not.
And it turned out well. It turned out great, and I just wanted to have an opportunity to say that to you. Anybody that goes in and improves anything deserves to be recognized for it. So as far as I'm concerned, we made the right decision, and we hate to see you go. It takes time for someone to really get the knowledge that you have, and it's really tough to see them go anytime. So not to take away from the appointment of Mr. Fox, but we just wanted an opportunity to let you know that. I think on behalf of the board, because I think they know. Again, as I've said earlier with Ruby, that when a department is run well and nobody complains about it, that is the best, that we can expect from anyone to move the process forward and to make it better, and you've done that. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your sentiments a great deal. And honestly, the appointment to legal defender has been a highlight of my career. I've appreciated it beyond words. I've done everything in my power to bring the best I possibly could to the agency and to make it viable, useful, and helpful to Yuma County. And I think Mr. Fox is the ideal candidate to take that into the future. I think he understands very much the role that the legal defender plays in catching a variety of cases. But the thing that's nearest and dearest to my heart, and that Yuma is probably never going to get rid of me as a result of, is the intersection of mental health treatment and the criminal justice system. I think we all agree completely that our criminal justice system is the primary provider for mental health treatment nationwide. This is not a Yuma County problem. But Yuma County is, I think, in an ideal situation. We've done a lot of very novel and wonderful projects to work towards that, and I've been very proud to be a bit of part of that. We're opening up a restoration to competency program that is out of custody that will take people who are mentally ill out of custody for restoration processes. We're undertaking a number of initiatives to try to intersect people at the time of arrest and move them into treatment and services as quickly as possible, including partnerships with private agencies to get release planners that were in the jail back to release planning as quickly as possible, because I think mentally ill people taking up jail days is a travesty when we could be providing them services in the community. And I think it's unfair, as I've said before, to our criminal justice agencies to expect them to have the expertise that they clearly don't. So that said, I appreciate the steps that Yuma County has taken in that regard, and the innovative thinking and the ability and the willingness of this board to continue thinking in that direction. So thank you very much. And I will now undertake my role as an officious intermeddler. The one thing I will do before I go is to urge you to please appoint a permanent to my position as quickly as possible. I think Mr. Fox would be perfect for the position, but because my agency is so small, having an interim from within my office basically handicaps Mr. Fox to the extent that he has not got a full complement under him to keep us going, and that makes a big difference. So I would ask you to consider appointing him as a permanent as quickly as possible. And that said, thank you so much.
All right.
I appreciate working for all of you. I do. I think you guys are wonderful. And by the way, the directors that you have and the ability for me to know them and work with them has been edifying. When I leave Yuma County, and I will, I sold my business in my house, I will have nothing but wonderful things to say about Yuma County. And I fully intend to continue to preach at the praises of Yuma County as a great place to practice law and to live. So thank you.
Thank you. Where's Mr. Fox? Come in. Why don't Mr. Fox come up and join? Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
We didn't want him to take it from you, so we said, okay.
I thank you very much for that. You know my weaknesses, so thank you very much. You're better at tea drinkers.
Well, we're gonna take a picture before you go, so.
Yes,
This is like exercise week. You know, we get to go up and down and take pictures.
Yeah. Thank you all so much.
You're gonna get to have fun with your friends.
Oh, yes, I am.
So you just let me know where you're at so we can visit. Yeah, that's it. Okay, you must be very confident. Very confident.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you're gonna live in the campus area?
Oh, I'm living, worse, I'm living within a stone's throw of the Capitol.
Oh.
Yeah, no, I'll be right downtown.
Florida, so I went into business,
This is
but-
intermeddler, yes, yes indeed.
Right, well, where's Mr. Fox?
This item, I will bring
Further-
forward Mr. William Fox so he can say a few words as the interim for your appointment.
You know, we're in basketball season. You fit right in. You know, great games yesterday and the day before. So anyway, Mr. Fox,
Thank you.
welcome.
Chairman Reyes, members of the board, I'm Bill Fox, and I've been with the county for almost 15 years right now. And I look forward to having the opportunity to be the interim legal defender. And if you have any questions, please feel free to.
We just don't want to use you, but you know, other than that, it's fine. Personally, I mean.
If you have any questions and you want to come by or give me a call, I appreciate it.
No, we trust that the right we're making the right decision. So you know, you will prove us right. I think.
Yes, thank you.
We put some confidence in you. So we'll take item number 5. Do I hear?
Thank you.
Go ahead and approve it as presented.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
There's a motion and a second. There's an eagerness to make a motion, which is a good sign. Second, to appoint you as
We don't want to give you too much
County
time to
Legal
talk.
Defender effective April 17, 2021. All right, so thank you very much. And all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Fox, and welcome.
Thank you.
Item number 6, action to distribute $10,000 in program funding from the Cocopa Indian Tribe to Get Some Annie-Food Ministry and Precious Treasures Mission in equal amounts of $5,000. I know we have Rosa Long, which is, she is the Cocopa Vice Chairwoman, and is Juana here?
I'm sorry?
Juan,
she's
oh, there she is. You know, would you please step out? I just want to make sure that we put this item up, and I'm moving it out of, you know, the consent, so we can acknowledge the contribution the Cocopa tribe makes every so often, and I don't remember if it's yearly or every 2 times a year or how many times, but I know Desiree, the moment that check hit, or the moment that hits here, Desiree is on our case to pick, you know, someone worthy. And normally we pick either the food bank or some sort of a smaller institution that really needs the help. We picked these 2 in South County because we felt that we always sort of go to Catholic Community Services or the Salvation Army or one of the most well-known entities. But right now, with all that food insecurity going on, especially out in South County, I've asked Supervisor Porches to provide me a name from Somerton, and I provided a name from San Luis, Arizona for a food ministry and one that helps, you know, young kids, you know, especially right now when they're basically in and out of school, sometimes remotely and sometimes in person. So we wanted to take the opportunity to thank the Cocopa tribe for their contribution and acknowledge that we're just passing it through. It is really you guys that are providing funding for these people, and you know we want to have that acknowledged every chance we get. So,
Yeah,
Ms. Long.
Well, thank you so much for that. You know, the tribe, through the profits of Arizona Gaming, every year distributes the revenue to you know, we get to pick who we want to disseminate this money to, and so the county, the city of Yuma, city of Somerton, because that's where we're located. You know, we want to improve the community, a friendship that we have with them, and so it is important that that you distribute it wherever you see fit. So we have contributed to the 2 organizations that you selected. So anywhere that the monies are needed, that's up to at your discretion to choose. So I'm glad that wherever the money is needed, that they make good use of it. So
Juana, can you come over? Why are you standing in the background? Yeah, come up here.
I told her to sit up here. She didn't
Oh,
want
you
to.
got the check. Well, you know, bring it over. I don't know if there's any representatives from those 2 organizations. They should have been here to acknowledge this, but obviously they're busy.
You know, you guys, you can stand with the check if you'd like. So that
Yeah, we will stand with the check. As long as it's made out to the chairman, it's not a problem.
You gotta pay for that vacation.
Well, this is a heavy check here. I have contributed to it.
Oh, have you?
Yes. My wife has contributed to it a lot more than I have. Fortunately, thanks to that, you see me, I'm watching my wife.
Can you see it above the? So we'll take turns so that everyone. Okay. Do we take them off?
I think so. No, I think about it. We've been vaccinated 3 times.
So have I.
Okay, we got the seal.
One more. Yes.
Oh, she needs to take one.
Oh, yes.
Sorry.
Yeah. Are you okay?
Can you stand on the chair?
Stand on the chair. No.
Uh-oh. You should have said that.
Not safe.
This is a health issue.
No, that's good.
Yeah. Don't forget that an emergency service is right next to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We get to keep this.
Thank you so much.
Say hi to Sherry.
I will. Yeah, tell Sherry I said hi.
I was getting ready for the abuse, but she didn't come.
She didn't come.
I can check the check.
Oh, the check? Yeah.
Tony.
Dang it. Oh, you know, they keep giving the check out. That's all. Is there an account number in there? I wonder it looked too sturdy to be one of those, you know, like foam checks that you get to keep. It's a metal one.
Oh.
Thank you very much
Thank you, guys.
for the opportunity to do that. The next item is item
Need a
number
motion,
9.
please?
motion. Oh, yeah, I need a
Oh,
motion.
no,
Right,
motion.
right. Let's, I'll entertain a motion to approve item number 6 as presented.
So moved. Second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve item number 6 as presented. Any discussion on the item? If not, all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. And now we move on to item number 9, and I saw Representative Fletcher coming in from the Sheriff's Office, and this is to authorize the purchase of 2020s, huh? Ford F-150 Super Crew 4x4 short bed with a 5-liter V8 engine trucks from Santan Ford in amount not to exceed $173,690.12, including taxes and fees under the approved state purchasing contract ADS PO 17-166124. The reason I brought it up is I keep, every time I see that, I keep hoping that some local dealer gets it, right? And I know there's a process, and I shouldn't bring it up every time, because I know you guys follow the process, give them an opportunity to bid on it, hoping that they will sort of underbid the outside vendor. And I know this is a state vendor, state-approved vendor, so it's kind of easy when you go through this process, especially if you've gone through this process as many times as I've seen it going through the process, to actually know that the Sheriff Department always does their best to try to get some local dealer to bid in a way that they can get the vehicle, the sale, excuse me, not the vehicle, but the sale to the Sheriff Department. So when I first looked at it, that was my first thought. Okay, has everything been done to try to get the local dealer to supply this trucks? But I know the answer to that, so I tried to hold myself, and it was too late, because he started discussing that this was going to go to San Luis, and then it became sort of like an item we had to sort of take up. So sorry to get you here from whatever you were busy doing, but in reality, that is the only question I had. Now we know from what Supervisor Simmons has said that the vehicles are going to go to South County to help on that desert, and there's a lot of issues going on in South County right now that probably need a lot of attention from the Sheriff Department, especially those outlying areas. So I know that the vehicles are going to be well used, and the only question was, did you try everything you could to try to get a local dealer to bid an amount that was less than the state contract?
So, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Major Bratcher from the Sheriff's Office, in every circumstance where we can, we obviously seek bids from any dealers that are willing. In this particular case, we have to purchase off of state contract as quickly as possible, and the state contract dealer did have these on the lot, whereas the local dealers did not.
Yeah, especially 2020s, which I see they're not 2021s. Somehow weird that, that they're easy to get, the 2021s and the 2020s. I saw that. So thank you very much for showing up. I don't think we really, anything else?
And like I said, they're going to San Luis PD, so that's going to help their patrol functions as well. And also wanted to congratulate, it's like the first time he's been down here since he's been promoted to major.
Woohoo! Congratulations.
Major Bratcher.
But thank you anyway.
Oh, I hope the salary scale is different. You got the title and then the duties, but anyway. Well, thank you very much for coming over. We appreciate it. In case there was any, are there any questions from any members of the board? If not, then thank you guys for what you do. I mean, we're in the employee recognition phase here, mode here, and we really want to tell you, the sheriff is one of the most recognizable, if not the most recognizable face of Yuma County most of the time, although it may not be necessarily, when you see those lights behind you, you may not necessarily feel like, oh, great, here comes the sheriff. But we do understand the task you have, and we appreciate it. Thank you very much. All right.
Mr. Chairman, thank you.
All right. So I'll entertain a motion to approve item 9 as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Now, one last question. When you say that they're going to go to the San Luis Police Department, you mean we're buying them and getting
Well,
them?
no, the ones they have now that they use on the Desert Patrol
Oh.
for Stone Garden, these four replacing will be going to San Luis
Oh, the ones
PD.
that are being released are going to the San Luis PD.
The older ones are.
The older ones.
Yeah.
Got it.
Because
Okay.
these were bought with
I thought we were-
Stone Garden funds.
Yes, they were, Stone Garden
So-
funds.
All right. Okay, we're moving on then. All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The motion carries. We'll move to discussion and action items. Wow. And the first item in the agenda is discussion and possible action regarding COVID-19 updates and activities, and this will be done by the Public Health Director, Diana Gomez. There's no background music, Diana, so there's no drum rolls and stuff.
We need to get her a seat up here. She's here so much.
Well, no. She's fine.
Good morning, Chairman Reyes, members of the board. So just an update on numbers with our vaccination strategy. So we have close to 100,000 people vaccinated in Yuma County. So we're making strides, we're making progress, but it's important to remember that about 36,000 of those are the people that have been fully vaccinated. So we still have a ways to go, but we're making progress. We have multiple vaccination opportunities. I want to take this time to remind people to go on the Find My Vaccine website. We have multiple vaccines throughout our pharmacies throughout the county that are offering the vaccine. So you can just go on that website, see their hours of operation, see when you can register. Most people know that there is the state pod that is run out of the Civic Center. Those appointments open up every Friday. They have the capacity to do, over 1,000 appointments a day. So that's another important strategy that we have for vaccination. The county health department has focused on doing community-based clinics. So we've gone out to Dayton, we've gone out to San Luis, to Somerton. Those have been very successful. We've also worked with many of our partners in the agricultural community. We've vaccinated thousands of agricultural workers. And again, we're continuing to do these events where we can continue to provide vaccine opportunities to people throughout the county so that transportation or location is not a barrier. And our next project, and you might have read in the paper, we're partnering with Special Olympics. And yeah, we're looking forward to doing those kinds of things. Those allow us to go to where people need us so that, those issues are not a barrier. So again, just an update on that. Again, our numbers are trending downward. I want to remind people to still continue to be cautious. We have in Arizona a number of variants circulating, and so I think it's important for people to continue to practice, smaller gatherings rather than large. If you're with your family and you've been vaccinated, it's appropriate for you to gather with your family who's also been vaccinated without needing to wear masks or stay 6 feet apart. So those are things that people need to remember and just continue to be cautious because we're moving through this. We've made a lot of progress, but we're not done yet.
Thank you.
When I see the numbers of positive numbers, I either believe personally that we're not testing as much, so therefore we're getting very low numbers. People are just sort of like thinking we're over the hump, and they're really not testing that much. So it's a sort of it's not a really, I don't consider a true picture of what's going on. I think it's more like people just sort of tired and they're just not, and the vaccine is doing its job, I think, and this doesn't even take into account the fact that a lot of people already had COVID, so they already have some natural immunity. So it's probably more than 100,000 people, well, 36,000 plus, that have gotten at least the first vaccine or had COVID and feel like they have some natural immunity that they can handle. We're going to get into the mask mandate and some of those discussions in there. And if it's possible for you to remain for that, I would appreciate it, because I think that a lot of what we're going to be talking about has to do with where we're at and whether we're at that point where, the health department and other people feel comfortable that we are basically over the hump. So would you please remain for that discussion? A lot of that is going to focus on health and where we think we are as opposed to where we actually may be. So any questions from Diana? I do want to again reemphasize the efforts that the county health department is making to have the vaccine reach South County residents, which are tougher. I think that the community of Yuma has many options close by. They can go to one of the pharmacies, they can go to the Sunset, they can go to the hospital-driven clinic, which I thought, is that clinic at some particular point expanding the hours that you know?
So yes, the point is we were going to have about 3 weeks worth of trying it out that way, and then they're going to receive additional vaccine. So I think right now they're getting an average of 8,000 doses. So we're looking forward to getting up to 10,000 doses a day.
Oh, good.
So with that, we'll
A
expand.
day?
A day.
A day, wow.
A day?
That sounds
I mean,
weird.
a week. I'm sorry.
Week.
Right,
I don't know
that
how many
sounded
that's
weird,
so-
because if
I
it's
know, it's
1,000 a
10
day.
days with 100,000 vaccines, that's
We'll have everybody vaccinated in no
That
time,
would
huh?
be
10,000
awesome. No,
a
so
week.
10,000 a week. I'm sorry.
Well, I want to thank too Diane and the Health Department. They went out to Dayton last week in the far east part of the county, and I think they had over 600
Over 600 people.
come out for that vaccination. So
Yeah,
thank
no,
you.
and that's what I mean. I shouldn't have just used South County, but it's an example of the county health department reaching out to the outlying areas and not having people come over to Yuma or get to a pharmacy or something. The city of Somerton is doing that. The city of San Luis is doing that. They're all trying to make it so that people can get it where they're at, as opposed to having to come to somewhere. And when I said Yuma, I meant obviously the city of Yuma, or within 5 miles, within a few very short, drive to get to a vaccination location, while people out in Dayton, people out in Welton and Mohawk over there, they have a tough time, getting, it's a long ways, and some people don't have the transportation or the means to get to one. So for me, the county's effort in reaching the outlying areas is what I wanted to emphasize. I use Southern County as an example, but I suppose Supervisor Simmons can use Dayton and reaching out to Welton, even reaching out to the foothills. They do have a lot more accessibility to get to a pharmacy that most people, and there is an elderly population that resides in the foothills during the winter months that I'm sure make themselves available to some of these options. So and as much as I keep looking at Imperial County and seeing if they could ever catch up, I don't think they can. I think that Yuma County is just simply better equipped, and it all has to do with your staff, yourself, and the fact that you don't have any preconceived notions about how to do this thing. You open yourself up to anything and any way that you can get this vaccine out, and that is to be commendable. Supervisor Pancrasi, you want to say something?
Diana, where are we on getting to the homebound folks?
So my staff is working with some organizations, and so we're actually meeting with WACOG to follow up on some of the strategies that they are looking to implement to help us reach. It's always so much easier when we partner with agencies. They know who they serve, they know, and that's what's been successful in the outlying clinics as well. For example, in Dayton, it was the school that helped register over 600 people. And so we're really grateful for those partnerships and those people that go above and beyond to make sure we're going out to YPG actually on Tuesday and Wednesday, and I believe we're going to be there Thursday. We're doing a series of clinics too. The Colonel reached out to us and asked about the availability and the possibility to partner. And so we're going to go out there Tuesday and make sure that we work with them to make sure we vaccinate people out there too.
Thank you. Well, I know Meals on Wheels is an organization that really helps the homebound. So I'm sure that's probably who you're working with. So thank you.
All right. Any questions from Mrs. Gomez before she Supervisor?
Chairman Reyes, I had the opportunity to receive my Johnson vaccine last week, and I just wanted to commend Diana and her staff on the efficiency for which they're running the clinic down at the Yuma County Health Department, in and out expeditiously, as long as you bring your form pre-filled out. So if you're going to go down there, take your form and fill it out before you get there.
Yeah, hopefully the system to register, it's improved from all the complaints that we had in the past. I don't think there was ever a complaint about getting the vaccine in the arm. The complaint was just getting the appointment to get the vaccine in the arm. And it's been the same way for a long time, and I think it's starting to loosen up as more locations are made available and people have more options to do it. And the removal of the restrictions, which I'm not totally sure, and this is a good way to let people know. Are we following the governor's or the state health department protocol in letting anyone?
We aligned with the state of Arizona, and so if you are 16 and over, you're eligible to get the Pfizer vaccine. If you are 18 and over, you're eligible to receive the Moderna or the Johnson & Johnson vaccine.
So that's the way we're dealing with it. Anybody that's 18 and over can get the Moderna vaccine. Anyone 16
Pfizer
gets the Pfizer because the Pfizer has been tested. Do you have any idea at all where the testing for younger? I mean, what you read now is that younger kids, younger adults are getting more.
Right, and that's the variants. When you talk about the variants, we see certain variants that are more likely to they're more contagious, and so you're seeing younger people get the virus that previously a lot of younger people were spared, and you saw the infections in the older population. We have vaccinated over 65% of our residents that are 55 and over. So 55 and over, 65 and over, we're making strides on the other population. But as we're moving forward to open, for example, for the high school kids who, 60 and over are eligible, it makes a difference for them as they gather and planning some of their activities.
Mr. Chair, Diana, are there any plans to do some vaccinations in the high school for those kids who are juniors and seniors?
No, right now, because it's the Pfizer vaccine most of them would be eligible for, and they'd be able to get that at the pod. So.
Oh, okay, okay.
The allocation that we get contains Moderna or Johnson & Johnson, and they would not be eligible for that.
Okay, thanks.
So normally, if you want to get the Pfizer, you would be looking at the state.
Yeah, you would look at the state side. There's some pharmacies that are carrying as well. Again, that's why I want to emphasize, go on the Find My Vaccine site. What happens when you click on that, is a map of Arizona will appear in Yuma County. You scroll down, there will be a panel on the left-hand side. It'll list every vaccination event or pharmacy in the county that is offering that. Most times it lists what type of vaccine is available, and you can click on that and you can follow those links to register because the different sites have different processes.
Thank you.
All right, well, there's no point. We'll get all the information out that we need to this way. So please be on the lookout for, news spots and advisory on how to get the vaccine. The idea is to vaccinate as many people as fast as possible. So we're still within that time frame that we like to get everybody vaccinated by early summer, if nothing else. Right? Okay. Thank you very much. And we'll Tony, do you have any? Thank you, Mrs. Gomez. Do you have anything, Tony, for us? Any particular issue?
Just continue to support the efforts of public health, assisting with unloading PPE and routinely checking weekly the testing sites. We're starting to see some of those testing sites changing their hours, lowering their numbers of people are not utilizing them like you're saying. So that's all we've been, in addition to what Diana's been doing.
Right. I think at some particular point in time, we're going to have to get into some sort of educational process for people who may be resistant to get the vaccine. I mean, you're going to get to a point where people who want it are going to go through the process and get it. And then we'll start to deal with the 30-40% of people who just don't feel comfortable. And somehow we're going to have to reach them to see if we can convince them that, it's a safe process and that we all need to sort of participate in it as much as possible. I guess there's going to be some people who just won't take it, but there might be some people sitting on the fence that need a little more information to feel more comfortable about it. That's probably the next level that we're going to have to get to within a few more weeks. Not that we're there right now. I think demand still outpaces supply.
Yeah, I've been check with the state pod, and they've seemed to keep all their appointments. They're seem to be booked. So they haven't experienced that, and I know some other places in the state have experienced that. So hopefully we get more people to get vaccinated and continue that effort and not see that gap.
Right, thank you. All right, so we're going to move on then, hopefully. We're going to move on to County Administration Grants Discussion and Possible Action regarding the Foothills Multi-Purpose Complex items as follows. Authorize staff to submit an application to the Arizona State Parks and Trails Grant for the Foothills Multi-Purpose Complex, selected development option, and authorize matching and surcharge from general fund reserves, and authorize the county administrator to sign all documents necessary for the grant application. Staff will give us a PowerPoint presentation, so we are there now. Thank you. So, staff.
Hi, Chairman Reyes, members of the board. My name is Diana Veloz, County Administration. And I'm here today to bring you information on a competitive grant available by the Arizona State Parks and Trails.
Okay.
And I have a quick PowerPoint. So the grant that's available is the Land and Water Conservation Fund, and it's administered at the federal level by National Park Services. This grant can fund up to $1 million right now. It changes every year. It is a competitive grant, so even if we apply for it, it doesn't mean that we're going to get it. This grant does require a 50% match, And that match could be cash, labor, materials, or other grants. There's a time frame of 3 years to be able to use this grant, and this grant also requires a 5% surcharge for the Arizona State Parks Administration fees. So with the Foothills Complex, what we're looking at right now is an estimated, we got some estimates, we broke it down into phases. The first phase would be earthwork, grading, irrigation system, green turf, maybe a large ramada, some picnic tables, benches, and a walking path. And that walking path is necessary because we have to meet the ADOT stipulation that we have to have some kind of transportation for that area. And that's estimated at $375 right now. Phase 2 would be adding a playground and a shade structure, and that's estimated at $225,000 right now because it's going to be an ADA playground. That's why it's a little more. Phase 3 is the parking lot, and that's estimated at $580,000. And future phases would entail additional green turf with more of an extended walking path, restrooms, and a dog park. So I come here today to you to ask if you are interested in having us apply for this grant. And if you are, what phases would it be eligible for us to apply for at this time?
Which ones are they?
Which is the first one is, the first option would be the installation of grassy area, the walking path, the ramada and picnic amenities, and perimeter fencing, which is $375 right now. That would entail a matching of $187,500 with a surcharge of $9,375. So the board of supervisors would be committing to a cost of $196,875.
All right, so, I mean, I guess I turn it back to the board. We all believe in, I suppose that if we didn't believe on doing something, we wouldn't have approved the plan. And remember how controversial it was, because essentially whenever we said we were going to get into Parks and Recs, we were going to get into Parks and Recs. And this is what happens when you get into Parks and Recs, so there's a cost. And the matching here, it's pretty substantial for normally a match. It's a couple of $100,000 to get 375, but well, no, actually, it's $200,000 to do a project that costs $375,000, from what I can see right now. What does the board think?
I think we ought to move forward with it, just for simple fact, we've been saying for 20 years we're going to do this. We're the closest we've been in those 20 years or more. It's
here now. I mean,
now
now
we're going to have a match. There's no guarantee we're going to get the money. This is just saying we will match it if the money comes available.
Well, I guess the question is, where's the money going to come from? And I think that if there is a point in time where the Yuma County may be able to afford to do some of this capital improvements, because as I've always said, and for the new supervisor to hear, there is this perception that we have recurring costs and just expenses, one-time expenses. This is one of those times where I think we're looking at a one-time expense that is there. So to me, the only decision is whether you do 1 and 2. The paid parking lot, I think people can deal with that. I mean, I know but it's really paying a little over $500,000 just to provide people a parking location. It's a little bit too steep, but to me, doing 1 and 2 makes sense. The playground and the shade structure is something that, in this weather, if you're going to get people out in the summer without shade structures or ramadas or picnic, whatever we call them.
Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
Can I ask the county attorney if there's any liability by not providing some type of parking feature?
Who designed the overall plan? Let me ask.
Who designed the plan?
There's no overall design right now. There's just a site plan, and this was just estimated on what was on that site plan. So the site plan is just very
The
minimal.
county,
It's
the county did the site plan.
And who's going to maintain the structures?
The county. Probably the worst department.
the county, because right now we don't have anybody that's willing to take on that maintenance.
That would fall under facilities.
I guess the simple question or simple answer is yes, there possibly could be
Anytime-
some liability to the
A-
county.
Anytime we build the park, I think your question had more to do with whether a parking, structures.
By not providing a parking, by having an area but not providing some sort of organized parking, what would the liability be like?
If you're talking about just a dirt or ABC, I mean, you're going to have an uneven surface as opposed to a completed parking spot.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think welcome to county government and welcome to government.
Just asking the question.
We do have the library right next to it, and it has substantial parking, and I know that's the library's parking. But the other thing I wanted to bring up as well is that there's no grants just for a parking lot. So
No,
if we don't
and
go
yeah,
with
it's
it
gotta be,
now, the chances of us getting a grant just to do the parking lot in a different phase is gonna be.
Well,
So we would have 50% paid for.
And I'm gonna put it to you this way, the 1 and 2 projects are like $600,000. Okay, the matching is $300,000. So we do get $300,000 out of the $300,000 that we match it with. If we match it number 1, almost $200,000 in there, basically $200,000, and we get another 175. I think the return on the investment, if we're gonna do it, of 1 and 2 is a much better return. I think that the parking is something that we may take a look and see if we can put some other kind of, surface, because it's going to get a little difficult with the library. They're gonna complain that people are parking in the library to walk over to the park. I mean, we're gonna get that. So we need to start from the beginning, not only addressing the park facilities, the infrastructure, but also addressing the parking location. We may not be able to improve it all, but we need to put some improvements in there to make it work.
Well, the county has a lot of millings, though, too. It's maybe something the county can come back, because I know we have pavers.
Oh,
I mean, just money-wise.
I am going to say that, look, we're being optimistic in that we're gonna get it. And I think that if we get it, we need to deal with the paid parking lot. But I think that the parking lot is an issue that we can deal with inside. I don't think it's a. Go ahead,
My turn.
I mean-
I have a problem with using county funds that are generated from people all over Yuma County to be used for this park in the county, well, in next to the library. I just feel like if the Foothills and Mesa del Sol want city amenities, that maybe they should consider annexing into the city so the city could provide those amenities. And that we're in the process of, I think we need to make sure that our roads are taken care of and that other things are taken care of, and spending 196, 315, 619, if we do all of it, of county funds for a park that's going to, which is a city amenity in most cases, and most of the people who live in the county because they don't mind living on a dirt road, they don't mind having a septic, they don't mind drilling a well, and that I have some problems with us providing $619,000 when some of our roads are in really bad shape and we can't meet our PM10 and our ozone and some of these other things that we need to be working on. I'm just saying.
This will help your PM10
All right.
because you're turning it into a grassy area
Let me-
instead of sand.
Yeah.
The
Well, let
roads
me,
that we can't
let me just go back to,
surface.
I think we need to take a look at this, and I take a look at this as a pre-COVID, after COVID thing. We're about to get, whether we want to or not, about $41 million. I already have a letter from the Court of Appeals asking that we set aside some money for one of their projects. So that's when I said, look, there's a time where you really have the funds to do something that, you know, broadband is another example.
That's it.
You know,
That's
you know
where
what I'm
we
saying?
need it.
But in
Mhm.
this particular case, we're going to have to start looking at ways to spend some of this money, because that's what it's supposed to be intended for. And they're gonna have to be projects we have in plans, they're gonna have to be projects that are matching funds. They're gonna have to be projects like that. I would feel uncomfortable if we're using general fund money to just do something for a specific area, but we do that all the time. We do that in South County, we do that in Dayton, we do that in Welton, we do that in Martinez Lake. I think that this one is one that we set a course. We set the course when we approved the master plan, and I think that that question was the one that was asked by Supervisor McLeod at the time. When you approve a plan, a Parks and Recreation plan, there's some expectations you're going to do something about it. And I think that that was very clearly made at the time. And if this would be something that I would have to budget on the general fund, I'd have a lot more reservations, the kind of reservations that Supervisor Pancrazy has. At this particular time, I think we're gonna be looking for projects to spend some money on. And I think this is one of those projects that we should be able to spend some money on to make life. I mean, I lived out in the county. I had a well, I had a septic tank, I had all those things. And yes, you do move out in the county thinking you're not gonna get city services. But the moment you get there and you start needing the police department, or you start needing the fire department, or you start needing your septic tank has to be emptied out, or your well breaks down, you start missing the city services. And so I do understand both sides of that issue. I do sympathize with the argument that if we were using general fund monies that people pay taxes on and expect everybody to get evenly, I would have more of a concern. In this particular one, we don't even know if we're gonna have to use the money. But it's like one of those situations that if we don't try, we won't know. Okay. And so we need to make a commitment, and then once we get to the actual, we got the grant, we will then discuss where we get the money from, and it won't be from general fund money, as far as I'm concerned, okay?
I'm
Is
okay
that good
then.
enough?
I'm
Yes.
better
All
than
right.
if that's, yes.
Okay, so can we move on to just approving, making the application and committing the matching funds, if we get the fund, if we get the grant?
May I make
Sure.
one more comment? This is related to what you were saying about city services and being in the county. It's come to my attention that Rural Metro is having a difficult time meeting their demands for services and that the city is having to go on 1, 2, 3 calls a day to help those people out in the county, which could possibly impact those people who are in the city. So I think that's something we need to look at in the future. That's just something I want to say.
But, you know, that's, we've had that issue before,
I
and
know.
the problem with that is that it's a private entity. You know, Rural Metro is a private entity. It's like helping the cable company. You know, we're gonna get into those issues as soon as we talk about, county services. You know what I mean? But in this particular case, I think we need to go back to the Parks and Recreation thing. Otherwise, Bill, that's why I said, Bill's a big guy. I don't wanna mess with him. You know, he's going to tell us to go back into the item that we have under discussion.
I know he is.
I know it looks.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to bring that up because it
Okay,
looks like
it's
it's going
pertinent,
to be
it's
an
pertinent.
issue.
All right,
And
so.
you said something about
Is
it.
there any more discussion? Make a motion so we can move on.
Make a motion that we move forward with the grant process and apply for the Arizona State Park Trails and Grants for the Foothills Multiplex or Multipurpose Complex. And we select, right now, items 1 and 2.
For application.
For application.
And may I say something? That may not be included in there, and I think Bill alluded to it. There's going to have to be design, there's going to have to be work, a lot of work to actually make it happen. Yet, if we get the grant, does that grant include design work, design costs?
Yes, we are.
Okay, good, that was my question.
375 includes the A&E services that we're gonna have.
All right.
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Lyons.
were you going to say something, Susan?
Yes, because, and Supervisor Lyons brought this up, is that, and Diane also addressed the fact that parking lots are not eligible for grants in most cases. So that would be a general fund expense. So I would suggest that you include all three, 1, 2, and 3 in this application, because you're gonna get 50% reimbursed of a parking lot where you don't get grant funds anywhere else. So it's real advantage to do a parking lot at half price that I don't think you would want to pass up.
Right.
Well, then I amend my motion to 1, 2, and 3.
Hey, it's a one-time shot, guys, so you better take as good a shot as you can, because this isn't going to be happening a lot, and I concur with Supervisor Pancrasy's statement about people getting concerned about using general funds that, we get from everybody in some particular area of the county. But I do tend to lean on the side that we won't get this kind of opportunity.
And well, I want to add on to my
Well,
motion.
your motion, was there a second? There was no
I
second.
want to authorize the county administrator to sign all documents necessary.
Right, let's see. We have a motion, and the motion now includes 1, 2, and 3, and it's, as part of that motion, is make an application, which is exactly what Supervisor Pancrase was saying a minute ago. What we're committing to is if this application makes it, which is, 1, 2, and 3, we're committing $619,000 from somewhere to match this, and it would be a full, complete development cost, a full development cost, including the parking lot at this particular time. Is that your motion?
Yes.
Somehow.
To include the.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, okay, well, we have a motion and a second to go ahead and apply for the funds and authorizes the city, the county administrator to sign documents, allowing you to go forward, okay? Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
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 Anyone
Can I
opposed?
explain my vote?
Sure.
I'm voting aye if the funds are going to be, if the funds utilized are not going to be general,
I don't know
county
that
general
that's
fund.
not gonna be the case when the funds come, because the funds are going to go into the general fund probably.
Okay.
And they're gonna have to be set aside for some sort of use. So
I
at some
vote aye.
particular point,
Okay.
everything that happens goes through the general fund.
Thank you, but
Right.
not
All right.
tax, yes. Yes.
We do end up getting this grant. I am still gonna try and be applying for those grants to go against that matching that we're doing.
Oh, good.
It's not a guarantee, that's why I'm here asking for everything.
All right, okay, so we got 1, 2, 3 in the motion, and it's been explained that when the time comes, when the actual, if we get the grant, which we probably will, considering that we're paying half of it, maybe, and that we will then make a decision on how we budget the items. This isn't going to be, I don't think, that's the other thing that I didn't get to ask. What's the time frame between the application and the approval or
The
this?
application right now is due at the end of this month.
Okay, and the approval process is what, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months? Do you know?
September is when they're
On
telling me
September.
that they might.
So we're
have-
looking at September, maybe knowing, and then we're looking at, then making decisions about how to fund it, okay? Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Oh, I think I did that.
Yeah, you did, that's okay.
Supervisor Pancrase.
You doubled down,
Oh,
Mr.
so we
Chairman.
voted
Yeah,
twice
we got to
in
double
favor.
down though, okay.
Right, so, okay, we're moving on.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item is the easy one. This one is discussion and possible action regarding the effects of Governor Doug Ducey Executive Order Number 2021-06, the new phase of COVID-19 mitigation, business guidelines, transition from requirement to recommendations on Yuma County, and any mitigation plans and strategies related to COVID-19. Before we start, let me clarify a couple of things, even for the general public, and, I hope I don't sound well, I don't want to sound like, okay, well, it's just my decision. But in reality, the proclamation wasn't done by the Board of Supervisors. It was done by the chairman of the board. The mandate wasn't set by the board. It was set by the chairman. And, it's something that I don't know which way the general public will take it. I mean, obviously, some members of the board may not necessarily agree with that, while some members may agree with that. The point is that this was done at the beginning of this process, and there's been some changes. And as far as I am been advised by legal, the proclamation, or what is it, proclamation that the governor set out, basically nullifies the mask requirement that was on the original proclamation that I passed, the emergency proclamation. I've been told that the executive order is what it's called, that the executive order that the government basically put out on.
Supersedes anything.
Yeah, basically takes away the power that he gave us to set up a mask mandate. So I'm not sure that we, I, as a chairman of the board, or us as a board, really have that many options to set aside a mandate for masks.
We can't.
The mandate has been nullified by the governor. So the only thing that's left is the ability that the county has as county government to restrict access to public buildings. Am I correct, Diana? I think. And that's what I've been told by legal, that the only thing left for us is a decision, which I'm not even sure that it's made, well, I guess it can be made by the chairman, and it would apply to county buildings only.
Good.
You know, we don't have any particular authority given by the governor to actually set a mask mandate for everybody, neither businesses nor other. And I've got to remind everybody, we don't really have a jurisdictional authority to set up a mask mandate for public buildings that are city buildings or, you know, city buildings, whether it's San Luis, Somerton, Welton, or anywhere else. So we're just limited to county buildings. And as the chair has made it clear to me, you know, he doesn't care whether I set up a mask mandate. He will enforce it whenever he wants to or likes to, or whenever he has staff. So, you know, I don't want to make this a very lengthy conversation about things, because I think it's already been done by the governor. So what's left for us, for me actually, to decide on is whether we require, quote, require, or mandate mask wearing when you come into a county building. That's it. And I think the health department can guide us a little bit through that by actually, you know, I know that we follow CDC guidelines and then we follow state guidelines, and sometimes they conflict, and sometimes CDC guidelines conflict with themselves. So at this particular time, Susan and I had discussions about whether we actually can make elected officials follow mandates in their buildings. I mean, it's really kind of, I think we can, but whether we want to is a different question, or whether I want to is a different question. So, Diana, Mrs. Gomez, can you come up and sort of gives us an outline of what the health department would be doing in a situation like this?
Yes, Chairman Reyes, Diana Gomez, Director of Public Health. So yes, so businesses, private businesses, as well as cities and counties have the ability to still require the use of masks in their own building or private business. And so you saw the trending of the numbers going down, and that is a reflection of testing. We have seen testing go down, and so testing is an important part of surveillance. And if people aren't getting tested, you have 20 tests and 10, come back positive. You just see the report. People focus on 10 tests. You have to look at the fact that the numbers have been going down. The focus has definitely shifted to vaccination. People are just tired of getting tested, but we do know that it's possible for you to be asymptomatic and spread the disease. So keeping in mind that there's a lot of places, a lot of businesses that have opted to retain their mask requirement, and why that makes sense for those entities and possibly for us that interact with the public on multiple occasions on a regular basis is because we have no way of knowing who's been vaccinated, and we have multiple exposures. As a visitor to a restaurant, as a visitor to a movie theater, as a visitor to a grocery store, I am in and out. I have whatever amount of time I'm going to spend in there, and I'm out the door. The people that work there through their entire shift are exposed to multiple people throughout the course of their entire workday without knowing if you've been exposed or not. And so that's one of the reasons that those requirements for masking are still a critical part as a mitigation strategy. As far as keeping distance and washing your hands. It's important for people to remember that we continue to have the virus circulating, because sometimes people forget that vaccinations, although an incredibly effective tool, it takes time for them to kick in. So we've seen cases where people get vaccinated and then they get their first dose in the case of the 2-dose, and then they go out, they haven't gotten their second dose. Vaccines, the 3 that have been approved here, the Johnson & Johnson, the Pfizer, and the Moderna, are all 100% effective in preventing hospitalization and death, which is what we want to see in an effective vaccine. We don't want people to overwhelm the healthcare system, so that when you do have the need for care, you can go get care. We know that people that are vaccinated for the Pfizer and the Moderna, there's a 95, anywhere between 90 and 95% effectiveness against getting ill. It's a little lower for the Johnson & Johnson. We don't know yet if you're vaccinated, if you have the ability to spread the disease. We don't have enough data yet. That's the hope. We don't know for certain. And for true herd immunity to kick in, we really need to make sure that we have a larger percentage of our population vaccinated. We also need to include children in those vaccination efforts. Pfizer is currently lowering their trials to allow for, I think they're testing them on like 15-year-olds and 14-year-olds to allow, and so far those look very promising, but we do know that children can acquire the virus and spread it, even though fortunately they haven't gotten as sick as adults have. But again, so those are things to remember. And again, those guidelines are there for the businesses, and we hear about, you know, personal responsibility and accountability, and we're out there looking for each other. And I just want to encourage people to continue to look out for each other, be responsible. If you go to one of these facilities, one of these businesses that has these mask ordinance in place, do the personally responsible thing and follow their rules. That is the rules they have there to protect their staff. A lot of these institutions had to close down initially and reopen. And again, now that they have the ability to have those safety protocols in place, they have them in place to protect their patrons and again their staff.
Their employees.
Their employees, yes. So if you're not required to use a mask anywhere else, but you're visiting one of those establishments that have that, I ask you, please be respectful of that rule. Please be mindful that that protocol is there for in place for a reason. And the 16-year-old that is helping take your ticket, or you know the other adult who's bagging your groceries at the door, is doing their job. And
well, like I said, I wanted to make it clear that as far as I'm concerned, the rule that we set aside, the mandate, as we called it, for face wearing, the governor took care of that. So what's left for me to do is whether to set up a mandate for county buildings. That's about it. You know, the businesses have their own, they follow their own rules and recommendations. Basically, what used to be a mandate is now a recommendation. And the county attorney's office supplied me with a substitute, I wouldn't call it anything else, but the substitute proclamation that basically says as long as that emergency is in place, and that emergency is in place, I just want to make sure that everybody knows that. The governor hasn't canceled his emergency. I haven't canceled our emergency. The thing that has changed now is that requirement, I cannot proclaim a requirement in places, business places, or any other place other than county buildings or county facilities. And I do intend to. So I just wanted to let you know that this is where we're at. And again, most local elected officials they probably set their own rules, but they would need to continue to at least obey the original mandate that you protect your employees and protect the public. And that is the key to this. Just protect yourself, protect the public. It isn't to force, I hope, anyone to wear a mask in any public place. It's just when you enter, you need to understand that some of this different, a place like the health department where safety, where it's a health issue, it's not neither a political nor it's not a mandate of that sort. It is just a health precaution. And a lot of this is going to end up being just health precautions. Again, the power to mandate mask wearing anywhere else, it's just really been taken out by the governor, and we're not going to challenge that, or I'm not going to challenge that. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that applies.
Yeah, but we can require it in county buildings, and Mr. Chair and Diana, I haven't been anywhere where the employees of a business have not been wearing masks, and where the majority of the people who are shopping, like at the grocery store or at
I've observed that as well.
They're wearing their masks. They're being responsible, and I think that's fine.
And I think that's by choice, and that's really what the executive order is about. I mean, the governor is just making a point that everybody should be responsible for their health being, the well-being and the health. In the particular situation, I've done a little bit of asking around, and especially within the county and county buildings, and they want to continue with the restrictions, to come into a county building, and that's as far as I can go. And and again, this is not going to be a situation. I know people are going to say the board of supervisors, but really, as a board of supervisors, you don't make those decisions that way. The only reason it's up in front of everybody is because I know how strongly you guys feel. Some of you feel about wearing a mask or not, and I want to make it clear that I'm not going to, issue a proclamation to challenge the governor as, you know, they've done over in Tucson or whatever. That's not the point. We're gonna do what every responsible business should do, which is to enforce a certain amount of measures that are going to protect the employees and protect the public, and that's it. I don't wanna make it, you know, not a political decision. I don't wanna stretch it into, you know, you have to do this or you have to do that. I think that everybody that comes into a county building should respect that, just like they come into any businesses, and they should respect the fact that we're trying to protect employees and at the same time protect the public
And
health.
you see that, and I think it's important to reframe that in the sense that we are continuing a health precaution rather than a restriction when you're going to these facilities. A lot of the healthcare facilities are still using them. I know the hospital is still recommending that. So again, it's just a precaution. And so there's places that will have them in place, there's places that won't. And so my ask is just that if you go to one of those places that have that precaution in place, that you please, you know,
So again, I am going to make it a point. This is not going to apply to any business or anyone outside the county building. This is just county buildings themselves or county infrastructure themselves. And I think employees, some of them may agree, some of them may not agree. But the fact is that I'd like to err on the side of caution, you know, and again, without infringing on people's right to walk around, whatever they walk around and wear or not wear a mask, that's their decision whenever they're out there. But when they come into a county building, you know, just like they come into any other business that wants to apply certain restrictions to protect their employees, I think the county administration should be allowed, or county departments should be allowed to enforce that for their own protection. Is there any comments? No? All right, then this is going to be relatively follow the legal advice and do it within the legal scope of just the county building, okay? Thank you very much. All right, so we move on then to item number 4, which I've been asked to table or postpone until our next meeting. And I think there was a card here from Walter Richter. And you know, Walter, we're going to move it. So if you just want to wait until we actually, I know there's what is it?
Mr. Chairman, recommend that you would table it indefinitely until it's been brought back by staff.
Is it continue or a table?
Table.
Mr. Chairman, I do want to remind the board that the prior franchise that was in place has expired.
Yeah.
So the county's now operating, Southwest is now operating without a franchise in this regard. It's our recommendation that the board.
Let me say what is we're talking about, and then we can get into a little bit of discussion because it's going to be a table situation. So the item number 4 is engineering discussion and action to either adopt resolution number 2021-02, which is option 1, and authorize the chairman to sign the resolution granting a franchise and license to Southwest Gas Corporation to provide natural gas for domestic and commercial purposes in the unincorporated areas of Yuma County, and license to use the county right away for the franchise purpose for a period of 25 years to expire April the 5th, 2046, or adoption resolution number 2021-02, option 2, and authorize the chairman to sign the resolution ratifying and renewing resolution number 9462, a franchise and license to Southwest Gas Corporation to provide natural gas for domestic and commercial purposes in unincorporated areas of Yuma County, and license to use the county right away for the franchise purpose for a period up to 5 years, expiring October 3rd, 2024. Both of those options are not really what Southwest Gas Corporation really wants to accept. So we're in this process of basically renegotiating the franchise agreement, and they've asked for additional time. Now, time is of the essence because they're operating without a franchise agreement or resolution. So I want to make sure that this isn't a process that's going to take us 3, 6, or 9 months, that this is a process that requires some sort of action from us. And that's the reason why I was asking whether a continuance or a tabling was appropriate, because a continuance gives it a date. Table is indefinitely. So I wanted to make sure that everybody here, including the representative from Southwest Gas, understood that they're operating without a franchise license. And I know that it may not mean anything in terms of the operational situation, but it does mean something in terms of liability and so forth. And it's just not good operating business to actually do so without a franchise. So I want to emphasize to all the parties involved that this needs to come to a resolution relatively quick. And that's one of the reasons why I asked. Do we continue it to a date certain, or do we table it indefinitely and have it brought back at the earliest possible date? What does the board think? Mr. Richter?
Chairman Reyes, members of the board, Susan Thorpe, and the citizens of Yuma, assembled staff. On behalf of Southwest Gas, I'd just like to thank you for allowing me to say a couple words. To address your concerns directly, Mr. Chairman, we have paid the franchise renegotiation, or the franchise fee that Yuma County has asked for. And Mr. Chairman, if you could indulge me for one moment, just to give a little backdrop. It's a very brief statement.
Well, if you do that, then I really actually will open the item.
I prefer not to open the item in that case, but I would,
Well,
I would
but
just.
if you make your arguments now, before they bring it, then the attorney is gonna make their arguments.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. It's not to make any arguments at all. It's to provide just a little backdrop of our relationship with Yuma County. If it's inappropriate to do so now and you'd prefer just to table it,
Well, I'll give you a couple of minutes, okay? Because but then I'm opening up the item now instead of tabling it. And that means that we're gonna discuss, the timeframes and not, in other words, you're asking for it.
I would prefer
Go
not
ahead.
to proceed at that, if that's the case, Mr. Chairman.
Well, if you start giving background, there's going to be background coming in from the attorneys, and there's going to be recommendations coming forth, and I don't want to get into that. You know what I mean? Bring us an agreement that we can talk about and make a decision on as soon as possible. Okay? Thank you very much. We're gonna table this item, guys? Table it indefinitely? Or continue it?
The board's prerogative.
How much time? Well, that's gonna be tough to take. I mean, we're gonna have to get an explanation. How about 2 weeks, a month?
We recommend not, the county attorney and I were just talking that it would be better not to set a date
All
for
right.
a meeting.
I'm gonna
but
table
to
this
work through it as
indefinitely,
quickly
hoping
as
that it comes
possible.
back really quick, okay? And then you make your argument. Thank you very much. Is there a motion to table this item?
So moved.
Is there a second? The tabling is indefinitely, so please bring it as soon as possible. Okay, there's been a motion and a second to table the item. All those in favor? Oh, sorry. Jonathan?
Can we amend that to say at our earliest possible convenience?
Yeah.
Yes.
As early as possible, all right? So
So
we'll table the
amended
item to come back as early.
As early as possible, I amend my.
You like that?
And now I will second that.
All right, so there's a motion, a second to table the item to come back as early as possible. No more discussion. All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everybody, and thank you for your patience of waiting, Mr. Especially after I told you, we gotta come back. All right,
Have
so
a
thank you
straight-
very much.
Have a safe trip back to
Yes.
Tucson.
And
Take home some
we'll
local
move on
food.
to planning and zoning, which is the agenda. It's full legal description of the property sites and all rezoning cases are available for public review at the Yuma County Board of Supervisors office. I will open the reversion hearings. The first one is in accordance with section 404.01. Is that an L or an I and 7? That's why I don't like to mention the revised statutes. Of the Yuma County zoning ordinance, the board will conduct a hearing to grant an extension of time to comply with the schedule for development, determine compliance with the schedule for development, and cause the property to revert to its former zoning classification in the following cases. One is rezoning case number 04-04, in accordance with section, again, of the Yuma County zoning ordinance, action to grant an extension of time to comply with the schedule for development or cause the property to revert to its former rural area, 10-acre minimum. Zoning classification, assessors parcel number 198-18-004, located on the south side of 40th Street west of Fortuna Road, Yuma, Arizona. We will have a short oral case summary and a very small PowerPoint presentation. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Juan Leal Rubio, Senior Planner with the Planning and Zoning Division. Just to let you know that this case.
I can't understand him.
It's okay.
Can you take off the mask? Thanks.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Juan Leal Rubio, Senior Planner with the Planning and Zoning Division. I did get my second shot, so I feel comfortable.
That's okay. You can, just don't blow on him.
This case, Mr. Chairman, this case and the following case are represented by the same agent.
Oh, right.
And they are properties that are contiguous to each other, so.
I want me to open the other one? So we
If
can have
you-
the presentation at the same time?
Yeah.
Item number 2 is rezoning case number 0617 in accordance with the same section of the Yuma County zoning ordinance. Action is to grant an extension of time to comply with the schedule for development or cause the property to revert to its former rural area 10-acre minimum. Zoning classification, an assessor's parcel number 198-18-005 located on the south side of 40th Street and Fortuna Road, Yuma, Arizona. They're both contingent to each other. One is 18-0004 and the other one is 18-0005, and they both follow the same requirements and the same process, okay? All right, so open them up. We'll open up both of them.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Flo.
In regards to rezoning case number 0404, this is an action to grant an extension of time to comply with the schedule for development to cause the property to revert to its former RA zoning classification or an extension of time. This is the property shown here crosshatched, the original map. As you can see, 40th Street, County 12th Street, the vicinity of Fortuna Road. Newer map. This is the aerial imagery. And this is the schedule for development that was approved with this rezoning case, that the A through C. A is that filing and approval of botanic plat within 2 years of board approval. B, that all the required improvements be done within 5 years of board approval, and that the note for the record that it must comply with all the listed laws and regulations. And the current status that the deadline to comply with the schedule for development was February 21st of this year. They have not met that schedule for development, and the board has the option of either granting an extension of time to comply with the schedule for development or reverting the zoning to its original RA10 zoning classification. Staff is recommending that the rezoning get reverted back to the RA10 zoning classification. So if we may.
Well, why don't you take the next one? It's
Yeah.
the same thing. It's just next to it, and then he can argue the point for both of them.
Thank you. Also, this is regarding rezoning case 0617. This is an action to grant an extension of time to comply with the schedule for development or reverting the property to its former RA10 zoning classification. Property is contiguous to the one I just presented, crosshatch.
Can you hold there for a second?
Right here?
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Schedules for development, it's similar to the one I just presented. In this case, number one is that they need to comply with requirements of environmental health laws and study of a nitrogen management for on-site septic systems of the proposed density of development. The number two, that they have 2 years to submit for a tentative plat. And number three, that all required improvements shall be completed within 3 years. The deadline was February 21st of 2021, and the options are, as noted previously, you can grant an extension of time to comply with the schedule for development or revert the zoning to its original RA10 zoning classification. And staff is recommending also on this one that it get reverted back to RA10. With that, staff
Rest the
is ready
case.
to entertain any questions.
The
agent is here.
Yeah. So the recommendation for both cases is to revert it to the original zoning, and your basis in both cases is what?
In years past, this was direction that was given to staff for older cases. This is an old case, very old case. So it might merit a new analysis and review.
All right. So that's simply the time. It's just taken a long time to get here. And, you know, and look, I am not in this particular cases, I'll make it clear. I tend to lean on the developer side most of the time. And I tend to think that a lot of the years that went by were not just, you know, just wasted years because people didn't want to do something. It was mostly because people couldn't do something. We were going through a really tough year, a few years. So I tend to be a little more lenient with people who want to get things going to be based on the rules that applied at the time. Government is not very sympathetic to mostly developers over time. And I can tell you that's a personal experience. That may not apply to everybody else, but I'm always a little bit,
I would concur.
yeah, well, I'm always a little bit leery when government says, we'd like to review it again.
Yeah.
Oh, normally but I understand staff is tasked to do something, and that's what you're tasked to do. And so I do understand where you guys are coming from. let's have the representative of the agent representing the applicant to come forth and explain why these reasons are for, you were asking for an extension, right? I suppose.
Correct. Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Vega, would you please remove your mask? Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, board members. My name is Vianney Vega. I'm with Vega and Vega Engineering. I'm the agent for the current property owner. I was the agent back when the rezoning was requested for this property. It was a different owner. And then the project was put in hold for many reasons. One of the reasons was the cost of development at the time, and we went through that recession, and the project pretty much got killed. So now the new property owners went ahead and retained our services to get this project moving ahead and get it developed. And we're here in front of the board to request an extension. And as I mentioned, we have been hired to move forward with the tentative plat for the project, and we'll be doing so and submitting this to Yuma County for review and approval. And I'm here to request an extension for both cases that have been presented, and I'll be more than glad to answer any questions that the board might have.
Mr. Chairman?
Supervisor Lang?
Do you anticipate moving forward rapidly?
That is the case, yes. We are started working with Far West Water to look into the water and sewer. That will be the first step. Accordingly, depending how the process goes with them, I mean, we'll move forward into getting tentative plat put together and submitted.
How much more time are you requesting?
We would like to see if we can get the standard 2 years, to go through the process, if that's possible, but it's really up to the board. Again, we've been directed to move forward with the project, so we'll be, and I'd like to get the 2 years, so then we don't have to come back and give an update on a year where we are. So if we get the 2 years, that way we just, if it's sooner, then we're just ahead of the game.
Any questions from the applicant? If not, thank you. Do you want to say something? Because, no? Mr. Rubio, do you don't want to say anything? All right, so are there any questions? I mean, you already asked a question from the applicant. Are there any questions for staff? Unmasked staff. There you go. And that's a big mask.
That's a healthy mask.
Yeah, that covers your eyes almost.
Even has a filter on.
Yeah.
Oh, my heavens. Can you breathe?
Right, yeah. So
Okay.
Anyway, so you're basically your opposition to it. It's just the time that has gone by and the fact that things might have changed, and so that's why you're saying, if possible, revert it back and we'll work our way through it. Again, when somebody wants to do development on an old project that didn't get off the ground and we've got some positive signs of life, I tend to, again, that's my particular take, that when somebody's willing to do it, you let them do it. And there's a long and lengthy process of review that he's going to go through that I know that is going to be where the requirements are going to come in, whether it's traffic studies, whether it's water studies, whether it's, percolation studies. There's all kinds of things that are going to happen before development of this size happens. So I feel somewhat confident that you guys can handle the process that comes forward, if it comes forward. Now, if nothing happens in 6 to 12 months or something like that, I mean, obviously, we'd like to get a report on it if we could. Does anybody have any other questions from staff? And if not, I'll entertain a motion to either.
I just have a comment. It's just, when the applicant or the representative uses cost as an issue, it ain't gonna get any cheaper.
Oh, yeah.
So as more, years, and I just wouldn't like for them to come again 2 years or a year asking for another extension. Because then I will definitely go with
Then,
staff.
yeah.
Because, 20 years, almost 20 years, this is just not
moved at all.
Not moved at all. And honestly, if you wanted it cheaper, you should have done it 20 years ago. So it ain't gonna get any cheaper.
No, and I tell you what, honestly, the fact that somebody is willing to move forward and move forward quickly, it's got me on the side of an extension right away. If there wasn't anyone, if it was just the same owners again coming back for another extension, I would be saying the same thing. I would be saying, what's the point? If there is no particular project in sight or project development in sight, what's the point of granting an extension to something that hasn't moved so long? If it wasn't because somebody came up and said, okay, we're gonna start this development process. I do tend to agree that a lot of these processes right now are being driven by board members, new board members, who are saying, why are we keeping all these old projects in the books? Why are we not moving them? And this is what the point is. Hey, if you're not gonna do anything with your project, it's not gonna get any cheaper, and it's going to get back to, hey, new requirements, okay? So this is like the last shot this project's gonna get from me anyway, if there's additional board members who wanna go with it. So unless you have any other questions, the comment was made, I'll entertain a motion to either continue or.
No, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make the motion to grant the 2-year extension.
Right.
And also note in there that it is a change of ownership, so Mr. Vianney just happens to be representing both the old and the new, but the new wants to continue.
All right. But there's a motion and a second to grant a 2-year continuance, and hopefully we'll be able to work out the kinks and get this project on the ground and done. Is there any more comments? If not, all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
There was a motion and a second. Supervisor Lyons motion and Supervisor Simmons seconded, but they did it so close together to each other that it sounded like one.
Almost like twins.
Yeah, for the continuance for 2 years. There's a continuance for 2 years.
Mr. Chairman, these are two different cases.
I know.
Yes.
All right, well, both
But he
cases
opened
are
up both
taken
of
by
them.
the same motion, I hope. Is that what you guys meant, right?
Yes,
Okay.
because you had opened it up to
That's
both
All
at
right,
one
so
time.
let's just make clear, the motion applies to both rezoning cases number 06, what was it?
-17.
06, yeah.
And
Rezoning
04.
case 04-04 and rezoning case 0617, all right? Okay, there's been a motion and a second, enough discussion. All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. We'll move on to discussion regarding legislative issues, of which there may be plenty. Thank you very much, the Development Services. And Maggie, I couldn't help but notice you've been here longer than I have. But you don't look it. I look a lot older.
Good morning, Chairman Reyes, members of the board. Ian McGahey, Deputy County Administrator, here for your regular update on a few items of interest.
To whom?
Everybody in the great state of Arizona, particularly Yuma County. Standing committees have officially come to an end as the deadline for bills to be heard in committees came and passed last week. Bills that did not receive a committee hearing are now dead, and strike everything amendments are no longer permitted with some exceptions. This marks a turning point in the legislative session in which focus will now be shifted to the budget. So the County Supervisors Association reports that the legislature is looking at how they can draw funds from the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 while reducing taxes. So they say there's limited public information on the budget right now, yet some members are indicating that they're being pulled in for small group discussions on how best to move forward. Regarding the CSA's 2021 adopted legislative priorities, all but 2 are still moving through the process. You'll see on the graphic there on the bottom, the dead bills, HB 2595, which would have allowed the Director of Department of Water Resources to designate an area with insufficient groundwater as an irrigation non-expansion area. That's dead. Also dead, HB 2801, which would have provided counties with a population of 500,000 or less the authority to levy a transient lodging tax in unincorporated areas of the county. But the rest are still alive and moving through, so we'll see how they do. On the governor's desk, and I just checked a few minutes ago, SB 1297 has not been signed yet, but that's the expectation. This would extend the income tax filing in the state from April 15th to May 17th to match the federal extension authorized by the IRS. Quick update on some bills that we've already talked about that are still in the process. HB 2057 regarding lot splits and surveys. It did not advance to rules, but is still a major concern to ACO and to CSA. It's possible the bill will be called for a vote this week. You'll recall that this bill prohibits a county board of supervisors from requiring applicants for a land division to conduct a survey as a condition of application approval. HB 2700 regarding salaries of elected officials did pass Senate appropriations last week. This bill would increase the salaries of assessors, attorneys, recorders, school superintendents, sheriffs, supervisors, and treasurers by $20,000 beginning January 1st, 2025. Also, salaries of clerks of the Superior Court would see modest increases January 1st of 2023. We talked about this one again before. HB 2551 would allow a person who has a permit to carry a concealed weapon to knowingly enter a public establishment or attend a public event while carrying a deadly weapon, with exemptions for criminal justice facilities. ACO reached out to Representative Kavanaugh to try to add an exemption for county treasurer facilities, but was denied. It's possible that the fate of this bill will be left with the governor, who ACO says may be sympathetic due to the added security costs this bill would lay onto counties. A couple of election bills of note, SB 1613, which would have required all election equipment to be made in America, is dead. It was not assigned to committee. SB 1713 is still alive. It's related to early voting and would require an early ballot affidavit to fit inside the return envelope, and also requires voters to include their date of birth and certain forms of identification with the affidavit in the return envelope. ACO considers this one a go-to-the-mat effort to see this bill die. They think they do have the votes to kill it. And if it doesn't pass, it appears the governor may listen to the counties on that bill. I want to let you know that the county has submitted the Fairgrounds Relocation Project for funding through the 2022 National Defense Authorization Act through Senator Kelly's office. And I had a good talk with legislative assistance from Representative Gozar's office regarding potential $6 million available through military construction subcommittee earmarks. So we're also in the process of submitting county infrastructure projects to Committee of Transportation and Infrastructure, and I'm working with Public Works Director Josh Scott on that. And speaking of Mr. Scott, we, along with Deputy County Engineer Frank Sanchez and some others, wanted to give you an update on the latest with PM10. As you know, PM10 stands for particulate matter 10 microns or smaller. ADEQ has been working with stakeholders, including Yuma County, to gather input on obtaining a reasonable control exemption to the EPA exceptional events rule. Essentially, the region needs to demonstrate that we're doing what we can to control PM10 in the absence of major events outside of our control. This slide shows the dates with high PM10 in the Yuma area. In the past 5 years, there have been 18 days that were either warning, watch, or advisory dates. As almost every exceedance corresponds with high winds, there are many in our county who don't believe these events are actually being generated in Yuma County, as we are surrounded by PM10 sources to the west and south in California and Mexico. Still, the EPA requires that the region demonstrate that we have reasonable controls in place to justify the reasonable control exemption. So right now, our region is classified as moderate, not compliant. However, according to ADEQ sources, EPA is making noises that they will be reclassifying our region to serious non-compliant due to what the agency perceives is a failure to adequately address the situation with quantifiable actions. So such a change would move the county from reasonable control measures that Josh will detail in a moment to best control measures, which in essence is mandated paving of unpaved roads. So I'll now invite Public Works Director Josh Scott, and we have others lined up to speak to you about this issue as well.
Ooh, that is famous last words. All that's lined up.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Josh Scott, Public Works Director. As Ian mentioned, right now in the moderate non-attainment, that puts us under reasonable available control measures. So basically, we can provide ADEQ with a menu of options that we could do that might contribute to reducing PM10. If we get reclassified to the serious, we fall under a best available control measures. And that puts us into a different category, and more likely we're dictated to which control measures we'll have to put in place. So when we talk about reasonable control measures, that's things like watering roads for dust control, applying magnesium chloride. When we get into best available control measures, that's where we're talking about paving a road to control dust. So, we have been working with ADEQ pretty closely, at least the last year, on some proposed rules, statewide rules to reduce PM10 emissions in Yuma County. My take is similar to Ian's. Lately, it seems like ADQ is getting impatient. They don't think we're either doing enough or we're not moving fast enough. And so the latest has been kind of this veiled threat that we may be reclassified and lose some of the control measures that we can implement locally and again be more dictated to. But I just wanted to give you a quick kind of summary of some of the things we are doing, at least on the public works side, to address fugitive dust in Yuma County. And it's not something we're getting credit for with ADQ because there is no rule to get credit against, but we are actively trying to address this. We haven't been sitting on our hands the past 10 years or so since this issue started. We have our gravel road maintenance program. We've got about 90 miles of gravel roads in the PM10 non-attainment area. They all get regular maintenance, grading, watering, compacting. We apply magnesium chloride as a dust suppressant to 32 miles of those roads in the PM10 non-attainment area. We've got a recapping program where we put down and compact a fresh layer of gravel on these gravel roads. We did about 4 miles last year. We've got another 5 miles planned this next fiscal year. On the paved road side, we swept roughly 270 miles of roads last year, picking up that dust, dirt, debris. We do have one PM10 compliant sweeper in our fleet. We've got another one ordered. It should be here sometime this summer. We started a shoulder maintenance program where we maintain the shoulders on about 60 miles of our paved roads in the PM10 area, watering, compacting, grading. And based on our discussions with ADEQ, we could kind of see where this was going. So we have now 9 public works staff that are trained in, it's called EPA Method 9, where they are certified to go out and monitor the dust generated from our own projects so that we can say, you know, our work on the roads is not contributing to the PM10 compliance issues. So we spend roughly $650,000 addressing dust control within the PM10 non-attainment area now. So that's not something I don't think should be taken lightly or glossed over by ADEQ. We are doing what we can to address it currently. And working with them over the last year, we've agreed to effectively double the amount of roads we sweep under the proposed state rule. We've agreed to update our fleet of sweepers to be all PM10 compliant within a relatively short time frame. We've also agreed to continue working with the ag community to reduce track out via non-punitive means, partnering with the ag community to identify hot spots and look at time frames on how quickly we get those cleaned up to show that we're reducing the PM10 or fugitive dust that gets kicked up, dragged up onto the roads. The latest issue is we seem to kind of hit an impasse with ADQ. There's 2 provisions in their proposed state rule that are giving at least staff heartburn. One is a requirement to pave 3 miles of roads every 3 years. There's a certain volume threshold ADQ is looking for, and once a road hits that, they want us to program it for paving. It's not as simple as that. With a lot of the unpaved roads out there, they've got drainage issues. They weren't built to county standards. We've got right-of-way issues in some, and then you've got to get them engineered, designed, and built. So 3 years is tough to meet due to our current budgeting process, our CIP process. To try and get 3 miles of road design built in 3 years is tough, and Frank will talk a bit more about that shortly. The other is the obvious, which is we have limited HERF funding. We've got all kinds of projects on the CIP we want to get done. We've got regular maintenance we got to do, and every dust control project is going to mean we've got to pull it from somewhere else. And so it's going to be competing with bridges that need to be rebuilt, 40-year-old subdivision roads that need to be repaved, capacity expansions to roads that are at their limit. We have a lot of safety improvements we'd like to see across the county as well.
The second issue with that proposed state rule is that it makes the county responsible for not just the roads the board has accepted into the maintenance system, but, and those would be your dedicated county highways or right-of-way that was dedicated to the county through a plat process or something like that. But it also makes the county responsible for public roads and the public rights-of-way that are out there. Those are roads that the board has not accepted. They're not in our maintenance system. A little of concern is we don't know exactly how many miles of those roads are out there. We don't know how much traffic they carry. I've reviewed the public right-of-way issue with the board a number of times over the past few years. But those are roads that were created generally as part of a land division process that function more like easements. They were dedicated to the public, not to Yuma County. And again, don't know how many miles are out there because we don't track it. The ability of the county to accept those kinds of roads for maintenance is governed in the statutes under 28-6705. And per that statute, there's certain criteria that have to be met before the board can accept a road. There's dates that the road has to have been laid out, constructed, and opened by. We wouldn't even be able to get all those roads in under that statute. The statute also gives the board latitude when programming maintenance dollars. That statute says the board may spend money to maintain public roads. If this goes into the state rule the way it's written, I think that that option is going to be taken off the table. We'll be required to maintain these roads to a certain standard once they meet a particular volume threshold. There's an exception in the statute that allows for, well, the statute also says basically we can only maintain the status quo on those public roads. We can't do much as far as upgrading their condition or widening them or putting down an asphalt surface. There is an exception in the statute that allows counties to pave those kinds of roads and even some alleys, but it's only applicable to the PM10 non-compliance areas in Maricopa, Pinal, and Yavapai counties. Yuma County's not listed in there. We're relatively new, I mean, as far as being classified that way. There's other counties that have an issue on it. But my interpretation of that is we've got a conflict between the statute and the proposed state rule, and that's kind of where we're at with ADEQ from a staff perspective. We need to get that addressed before we can really entertain what more we can do or how fast we can move forward with this. So that's kind of the stumbling block or the roadblock right now currently from the public works perspective. Frank will talk a little bit more about the CIP perspective and what kind of a challenge it would be to pave 3 miles in 3 years.
Before you go, if I remember correctly, and maybe this would have been to Ian or Ian, if I remember correctly, part of the problem with the PM10 particulate count had to do with the fact that we're next to a freeway, Interstate 8, and that a lot of the diesel fumes that, trucks traveling through Yuma County was creating some of that. And the other one was our nearest to Mexico. And every time they burned their dump, or their landfill, I shouldn't call it dump anymore, it's a landfill, we would get this smoke coming in, or from fields being burned across the border. There's no way to control those things. And we had a sort of a champion on Senator Flake at the time that it was trying to get some sort of exemption that, border counties or border cities could latch on to basically say, look, we have no control over some of the factors that create this emergencies or this PM10 days or whatever they call them. Has anybody done anything on that? Is there anything going at the federal level that deals with the fact that some of this is just not manageable or controllable by us? I mean, if you have a bad day where the wind blows from across the border, what are you going to do? I mean, there's no way to control that. Has anybody done anything? I mean, maybe. So,
from
your perspective.
My involvement
in it probably works.
I'm not aware of anything at the federal level. I know that has been discussed
over and over
for
again.
10 years.
Yeah, and this is not going to be.
Work on this exemption. It doesn't seem to be materializing. So, as Ian showed, the dates of our PM10 exceedance correlate
high wind events.
Yeah, well, that's, dust and stuff.
California burning all the time, we get all that.
Well, we're right next to Glamis, I mean, or, like Glamis.
The sand dunes.
Sand dunes and stuff, so.
Supervisor Reyes, Craig Sellers, Director of Development Services. In conversations that George and Maya and I have had with ADEQ, EPA does not take PM10 from Mexico and California into our responsibility. The challenge is, how do you prove it? How do we prove that the PM10 that's being measured is coming from those sources and not locally?
Craig, where are the testing stations? I mean, maybe that's, did they move them?
I believe that there's one testing station that is by Rural Metro's offices by
Arizona?
16.
16 in Arizona?
So, yes.
Should we relocate them?
We need to relocate them
to the border.
Not to the border.
So, and ADEQ is looking at these dates and seeing which ones can they say it was high wind, it was these causes, to see which ones can be taken out. They are struggling with some of the days, though.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's one of those things where, it just happens, and when it happens, I mean, if you're not ready, if you're not there, if you're not, aware, and it just doesn't happen that often, so it's a problem, because it's like meeting a top, and then, once you get there, that's it. I mean, it's recorded, and now you have to deal with it. It's tough to figure out what happened that day. Normally it's high winds, and normally you get a lot of dust, or you get something from California, or you get something from Mexico. It's in an agricultural area like Yuma County, that's also a factor. I mean, there's burning, there's so many different things that happen at some particular point in time. I actually, going back to the report that we got from Scott, I actually thought that 3 miles every 3 years wasn't that much. Now I'm going to get an explanation from Frank about the CIP, and having waited for like 12 years to get Avenue B extension done, I should know better than to assume that anything can happen in 3 years in the county. I mean, we're improving now, but I mean, it does take a long time. I mean, to get a road built, I mean, I think people miss the right-of-way purchases, how long that takes, and they miss the planning stages and the RFPs, and when the contractor comes in. You really have to be on top of your game to actually do 3 miles in 3 years. But we'll get that explanation from Frank. Thank you, Chris.
So you're saying we should have started like 20 years ago?
Yeah, I'm saying if you want a road improvement in Yuma County, you better start 5 years, now and wait 5 years.
So, Mr. Chairman, because you've been here that long.
It was here 20 years ago. Look, guys, if you want a war story, I'll tell you one about the Cocopah tribe asking me for a road about 20 years ago. They got it like 10 years after, but I could blame him because they had like a cemetery or something in there in a way. And we had to have someone from the tribe come over, and it took like 10 years, and Sherry Cordovas never let me forget that. The only thing they asked for, like one road to connect to Somerton, and it took like 12 years or something like that. So I'm not gonna get into a lot of that, because it's gonna show just how long I've been around. So Frank, can you move on to new
Chairman
stuff?
Reyes, members of the board, Frank Sanchez, Deputy County Engineer. Ian and Josh did a pretty good job of pretty much laying out the status where the county is with PM10 and ADQ. Just wanted to give you a little perspective on how it relates to our CIP. And Chairman Reyes obviously acknowledges, just how long it actually takes to design and get a project out to bid and construct it. One thing I just want to reiterate, just for perspective, is one mile of a paved road, minimum 2 inches of asphalt over 8 inches of AB, we're looking at just a tad over $500,000. That doesn't include right-of-way. It doesn't include drainage structures or irrigation canals widening and so forth. So in 3 years, we're looking at about $1.5 million just to do 3 miles of a paved road.
Just to do 1 mile. You said 3 miles?
$1.5 million to do 3 miles in 3 years. We do have a CIP programmed out. If it so happens that one of the dirt roads triggers the conditions or the warrants to have it paved, that's just going to push those program projects out another year or 2 years just to fit in these requirements to pave roads. Supervisor Reyes acknowledged that it does take time to design these roads. And so we have to go out and get design consultants to do that. Once that project is about 60% complete, then we have to start looking at right-of-way acquisitions and find out just how much right-of-way we might need. So if everything is run smooth, we can look at maybe designing and building a road between 1.5 to 2 years. But we do live in an agricultural area. There's canals everywhere, which means there's Bureau of Reclamation, irrigation district easements, and we do have to acquire licenses to be able to pave roads over their facilities or easements. So that just might add additional more time to complete the actual project of paving the road. So I just wanted to bring that out to the board that one road might not be too bad. We might be able to 1 mile of road. We might be able to accomplish that. But if we get a couple roads that trigger the warrants for paving, we're looking at a little bit over $1.5 million to do that. Which, as Josh said, that takes money away from other projects that we could be safety projects or widening of roads that need to be widened.
All right, well, I think we're all looking at a challenge. Either we work our way into getting down and get rid of the PM10 designation, or we're gonna have to start figuring out a way how to pave 3 miles of road every 3 years. The challenge is going to be, one is a budgetary challenge. The other one is sort of like an unpredictable one with the PM10 situation, because, I mean, I guess nothing happened well, the 2020, there was a couple of days or 3 days, I don't remember anymore, but we had some days. And that I would say that there was a lot less traveling on the roads, so that must have been some sort of weather-related event, because it wasn't people just driving around. I mean, there was not that many people driving around 2010 as it used to be, or maybe not. Okay, Frank, thank you very much. You have any questions, guys? I just told him thank you very much, and he's moving on, and now I'm asking you if you have any questions. So, no, Frank, it doesn't seem like they have any questions. Ian? And thank you guys all for being here. That would include the attorney, but, you know, a little bit.
Just in closing, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, in terms of looking for direction to staff, a question that we have is the board willing to accept dirt roads into the county system for dust control and other maintenance?
I think that's more of a question, that's a budgetary question, and it always comes back to that. It's anytime we take on this task, you know, we have to do certain things about them, and it's like saying, okay, would you consider, you know, planning 3 miles of roads every 3 years? I mean, it's a budgetary concern, and we don't know exactly how that works. The more you put in cost into the county's budget, the more you're forced to deal with taxes and things like that normally we don't really like to deal with. But I guess at some particular point, you're gonna have to bring that up as a decision item. Right now, it's just, you know, we have a report, but I don't think we're ready. I don't find myself ready to make a decision about, you know, expenditures, unless you want this on the budget, and we're getting ready to do that. Is there some sort of move that you guys have talked about? No? All right, well, then it's just gonna be a report, and it's just making sure that everybody knows that the PM10 issue with EPA is not going away. It's just staying.
Mr. Chair and Ian, is that the only thing that's keeping us from being, is that the only thing that's keeping this from submitting it to San Francisco? The you know, from ADQ submitting it to the federal government?
The county's willingness to take on other roads?
Those three, yeah. I thought there were some other things too. Is that the only one?
I think, you know, if the county were to demonstrate a commitment to do the 3 miles in 3 years, that might be something that ADQ would like to see.
they could submit it to our extenuating circumstances when the wind blows and we get it from everybody, they would be able to submit that?
We still need to show that we're doing the moderate compliance efforts.
Okay.
Which they, in their opinion, we are not. Please
Okay.
feel free to add to that.
And that's because we're not paving 3 miles every 3 years, or a mile a year?
That's right, and that we have not made that commitment at this point.
And that's the only thing left to do?
I don't know if that's the only thing, but that
One of
seems
the
to be the headline. That's
Okay.
what they keep pushing for.
All right.
Chairman.
Supervisor
I'm
Simmons?
just curious, where are our state and federal legislators on this, helping us on board, you know, at the state and the federal level, trying to fight this?
All right.
I think Supervisor Simmons, there's an awareness, but maybe the rubber hasn't met the road yet on this issue. It's kind of a quickly developing issue, and particularly if EPA comes back with a new determination about compliance.
Oh, yeah.
That's going to raise some eyebrows. But I will reach out. I mean, they're certainly aware of it. There has been some advocacy, but I don't think there's anything really to fight at this point from their perspective.
All right. Okay, guys, this is gonna be an ongoing thing. It's, you know. Sure.
Just wanted to make a comment. You know, earlier with the reverting, I brought the issue about cost.
It's gonna get cost.
And it's gonna get,
worse.
you know, more and more years go by and it's gonna get more expensive, you know. If you say, you know, 20 years, maybe it was 150,000 a mile. Now it's $500,000, you know. Down the road, it's gonna be, you know, 800,000 or more. So this is something that we all know that the county has really not looked into. I mean, recently they have, I mean, and I appreciate that on roads, but 20 years ago, the last, you know, they hadn't really looked into things. So we're always behind, and I think it's about time that we start thinking about, you know, what are we gonna do? I think we really need a plan that says, okay, maybe we do 1 mile every 2 years or something, but I think we need to start looking into doing something. So.
Okay, all right. Well, you know, I need to, you know, I feel the need to defend myself, but I'm not gonna do it.
No,
right?
no,
Because-
no, and I'm not
I
blaming
get
you.
it, I get it, I
I'm
get
just
it.
saying.
I think that the county is driven by budget. And, you know, it feels really different now than it felt like 5 years ago, 10 years ago. We were struggling, trying to keep the budgets, you know, level. It's a well-taken comment, because I think that what happened when these two supervisors, both Supervisor Simmons and Supervisor Porchas and Supervisor Pancrase came in board, they really focused a lot on the street, not the streets, but they really focused a lot on the roads and getting some of that stuff done. So that was appreciated, because we needed that push, and, you know, and they did. And now we're looking forward to, instead of backwards, I hope. And that's what I take that comment to mean. It takes the comment to mean, look, if we are going to have to make some sort of commitment to EPA that we're going to get ahead of this PM10 problem, the most logical one, because I think that everybody that thinks of the county doesn't necessarily think about other things like water and sewer, although they do. They think about roads and bridges and culverts and those type of things that you see out in the county. So they relate that service to that. I don't even think people realize libraries are part of the county, or the health department is part of the county, or the court system is part of the county. You know, I don't think people look at that like county government, but they drive the roads and they say, Jesus Christ, those roads are bad. They are in the county, you know. So so I appreciate all the relief that I feel when I talk about, okay, well, this, and when we talk about putting in 3 miles of roads every 3 years, I think, well, that's an achievable thing, and we should all commit to it, even without the EPA. But I do understand, as Frank has said, that it isn't that simple. I mean, it takes a long time. You know, one property owner that doesn't want to sell his right-of-way can delay a project for a year. That's how bad it gets in some places where people are just simply not willing to sell the right-of-way. You know, we have to go through condemnation procedures sometimes. I don't want to get into that. That's too complicated. Let's just move on. I take the comments and the advice from the supervisors that I think they're moving more and more into, let's plan the future and let's put more money into roads and improvement so that we don't end up behind and looking behind and saying we could have done more, right? Okay,
Just a question about HERF funds and where we are on that as far as a restoration. Do we actually receive back from the state our fair share, what's allocated for the county as far as what we pay in?
I'll let the expert handle that one.
I know what the answer is, but I just want to talk about it.
Yeah, so, Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Lyons, Paul Ward over at YMPO does a real good job of showing that that is not the case.
Correct.
In Yuma County.
Right.
We do not get our fair share. If you look at pro rata, what we sell in fuel and gas here, it doesn't come.
Does ADEQ understand that?
They do. They do. So we're dealing primarily with air quality scientists and rule writers at ADEQ, and they say they understand it. They know every other county has the same kind of woes, you know, and they kind of brush it off.
But we're more of a donor county.
Yeah, well, so.
Rather than.
You know, they have come back and when we've pushed back on that 3 mile and 3 year rule, we've gotten a response along the lines of, well, Maricopa County does it. They, you know, they take in these roads all the time. And well, number one, they have a carve out exception in the law. Number two, they've got vastly more resources than Yuma County does. They've got a separate transportation tax. They've got huge dollars that are funneled through MAG and the DOT to their county. So it's a challenge.
Not only that, but
and the reason behind it is that Yuma County doesn't have state highways. Is that like, I mean, we don't have as many as Mojave County and some of the others that are about the same amount of population.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman,
our roads our local roads are not state roads, so that's the rationale.
Correct. That's another thing Paul Ward touches on. You look at Yavapai County, which has a similar population base, but they've got, you know, considerably more miles of roadway that are designated state highway. We have Highway 95 that comes through here.
And that's it.
And the fluctuation in population in the winter, I mean, that makes us be a county that is listed as having 210,000, 220,000 people, that turns into a county that has 300,000 and necessitates the services, you know, the 300,000 people, you know, using the roads and doing all these things. That's why we have, I think, to me, that's why we have such a high, you know, gasoline consumption, and that's why the return isn't, you know, measured the same way, because it's measured based on population, miles of state roads. Those type of things that we lack are the ones that make up for, you know, the higher amount that is set aside for other counties to deal with their road problems. That's been like a chronic problem since I remember. It's always been that way. I think we need to deal with EPA on the PM10 issue by trying to figure out which way they would accept as a reduction of that, and then work our way to that. And I know that the 3 mile, 3 year kind of thing is sounds kind of simple, but it's the most expensive one probably of the whole bunch. But the most controllable one too. The other ones is almost uncontrollable. What do you do with weather-related issues? What do you do with your proximity to Mexico or the freeway that goes through town? You know, there are some issues that we have some control over and some that we have no control over. And I think that it's wise to focus on the ones you can have some control over. But we're going to get involved in a lot of talk and a lot of discussion. And it's really close to noon, if not noon already. So is there anybody else that wants to address the board? I can see some other people here. If
Can I
not,
make one more comment to Supervisor Lyons' point is the HERF funding, we'll have to see where it goes in the next couple of years. So DPS has been offset by a special fee on your vehicle registrations. That fee sunsets. So, you know, we may be looking at the HERF sweeps again in order to make DPS's budget whole. It's something we don't want to, have to consider, but you know, that could impact our HERF.
yeah, it always is. Yeah.
And we need to have those discussions sooner rather than later.
Yeah, that's one of those big ones. that we deal with almost every year when the legislature's in session. We just sort of tremble a little bit and hope, nothing. It's like ADOT wanting to run the regulations on the border, run the, whatever. It's just too
Yes,
big
I
of an
know,
issue.
yeah.
So, thank you, Scott, and I'm sorry we call you back.
Josh.
Is there anybody else? Josh.
Josh,
I keep calling you
Scott.
Scott.
That's
Bad thing
okay.
about having two first
He
names.
calls
Scott,
Candy,
Josh Scott.
he calls
you know
Candy
what?
Ruby too.
It's, it's like Marco Antonio, right?
Two first names, yeah.
The first name. Anyone else on this item? No? You're done here? Okay, well then we'll go back, we'll go to Chairman, reports from County Administrator and Yuma County Board of Supervisors members. Board members and county administrators will report and may discuss events attended or to be attended on behalf of the county, and may present a brief summary of current events and may update the schedule for future Board of Supervisor meetings as appropriate. No legal action will be taken. Supervisor Pancrazy, would you start us off?
Sure. I attended the border issues with the feds and the state, the federal and state folks that came down, and I want to thank Doug Nichols for organizing that. It was very, very informative, and they've got a better understanding of Yuma County and the ag issues that we face, I think, than they did before. I attended at Arizona at Work meeting preparing for their state evaluation. I attended the CSA Executive Directors Board meeting and the CSA Board of Directors meetings, one right after the other. I also attended the CSA New Members Roundtable. I attended the Tim Dunn's COVID-19 meeting that he has on Fridays. I attended a U of A, it's called Managing Aquifers Recharge. They have a water department at the U of A that does some really nice and very interesting meetings, and so I attended that. I attended the update for the COAD. I'm on the audit committee for the YMPO, and we had our audit, so I attended the audit committee meeting and then the YMPO meeting. And I attended the legislative policy committee for CSA and the special board meeting, our work session. And that's it.
Supervisor Porteous, you want to follow that up? By saying I attended every one of the meetings plus?
I was there with Lynn.
Yeah.
Now, we had
YMPO, huh?
2 weeks ago or a week ago, we had the elections committee meeting, so that's, they're already gearing up for the next election. And, we might have a few if there's some recalls or something, but we don't know yet. Huh? Yeah.
But don't mention that.
Yeah.
Move on to Supervisor Simmons.
Oh, are you done?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
I don't want to
Also, the CSA meeting, had a meeting with the county attorney's office, reference abatements, community wildfire protection plan meeting, again, the election advisory board meeting, legislative meeting with our state legislators that we sat in on, numerous meetings with different people in my district over different issues, and that's it.
Supervisor Lyons?
Much the same as Lynn, Supervisor Pancrazy, and Supervisor Simmons regarding NACO and the border issues. Followed up with Chief Clem, took a tour of his facility to look at some of the issues that he's facing, specifically some of the overcrowding. You saw the newspaper article a couple of weeks ago or a week ago that he had been allocated some soft sides. Those are actually up, and the improvements are being made to be able to expand. He is beyond capacity right now, but I just wanted to commend Chief Clem on the work that he's doing. Visited the border with some of the agents on a couple of different occasions over the last 3 weeks to observe firsthand some of the unaccompanied minors coming across and the tragedy that's there. Friday night I was there and observed a 5-year-old coming across by himself. And then the day before, or 2 days before that, several teenage girls all under the age of 16 coming across together, and then shared that information with a lot of our federal partners and the concern that we have here in the county, and then met with Amanda Geary at her site in Somerton to follow up and to look and observe to see how she is processing up to 50 people a day to 4 different centers, 3 in Arizona and 1 now in Mecca, California. Chief Clem, because of the numbers being apprehended on a daily basis, just under 400, he has reached out to Blythe and to El Centro as far as processing additional people there. And also attended Tim Dunn's meeting on COVID. And anyway, lots of things going on in our county.
Right. Thank you. A couple of
Oh, I
questions.
apologize.
Oh, go ahead.
Also had a couple of different discussions regarding the broadband with Susan. Met with Susan about that to get that kicked off and put together that committee. I appreciate Susan's diligence in getting that and attention of getting on that post haste.
Okay. I wanted to ask a question. The expansion of Jimmy D's next to us here, is that a time? Is it a month-to-month basis or is it a yearly basis, or how do we deal with that? I mean, we allowed them to expand into the parking lot, basically our parking lot. Is that a situation that's done on a month-to-month basis?
It was a 6-month lease that's been paid in full that runs, if memory serves, through May 31st.
Oh, good.
That's the answer to that. All right, we had a thank you. Just wanted to know, because, if we're gonna renew that, I'd like to renew it month to month. That situation has just become a situation that may not be.
I don't think it's needed anymore.
Well, you know what I mean. Yes, Bill?
But
You
I
wanna
mean,
say something?
if he pays.
No, I mean, is that an item that we need to put in the agenda to discuss?
Yes.
All right, well, that was a question, right? The question was answered. Yeah, okay. Well, it's a discussion for future meetings. Legislative, I just want to again take the opportunity to thank all the legislative representatives of Yuma County, both senators and representatives, for their willingness to meet, every 2 to 3 Fridays to discuss issues that are important to Yuma County. That's always been the trademark, as far as I'm concerned, of anybody that represented Yuma County in the past, and that hasn't changed. I mean, Representative Osborne, Senator Kerr, Tim Dunn, Lisa Atondo, everybody, Charlene, which was missing from the last meeting. But everybody is always willing to talk to Representative Joe, or is this one of those with 2 first names? John, Joe.
Representative John.
Representative John. They're really, I believe that they bend over backwards. They've helped us with some items that I wouldn't consider to be that statewide, that they focus on Yuma County alone, which includes the fair and includes ADOT taking over the enforcement and the border. Those type of things that in the past, I believe, were sort of put up by the wayside have become now important, and I'd like to thank them for their efforts on our behalf. Facilities, transportation. There was 2 issues that I brought here. Broadband, which was one that was mentioned basically by Supervisor Lyons. I think a lot of the money that is going to come from the federal government, both in this CARES Act and on the transportation bill or infrastructure bill, whatever they want to call it, deals with a lot of issues that, with broadband. So that's going to become a really hard-working task force that it's going to need the input of not just the supervisors, but a lot of administrative and technical people. We need to start getting some technical people involved. And on the issue of the Border Patrol and the releases, releasing 50 people in Yuma, or in Somerton in this particular case, it's really just a minor part of what's happening at the whole border area. And I want to commend Chief Clem for his willingness to work with the nonprofits to make sure that that's a smooth process. But I think the mayor of Yuma hit upon a point when we had this meeting with everybody that probably needs to be addressed in some way by the federal government, and by policies at the Homeland Security area. And that is and I'm not going to go into much detail, that is a transportation issue. That the Border Patrol has in taking these people to places they can be processed. And I know that that's something that he has a tough time with, but we need to start bringing out. Look, there's no point in releasing people in Kila Bend. There's nothing there. So, we've got to talk about that at some point in time with them.
Mr. Chairman,
I'm going to leave.
May I address that just briefly?
I don't know. I mean, it looks to me like Bill is not really.
Or just comment on it?
it's just a comment for a future meeting. I mean, we're not getting into a lot of
We're on
discussion.
reports from the board members as far as their activities. It's-
Well, there was, we attended a meeting with him, with Mr. Clem. So we in the mayor.
I
we
could share a
did
comment
report.
on the briefing.
Yeah, that's right, there is a briefing. It's
There's not
it's
an
a
agenda
report.
item to discuss the briefing.
Okay.
All right, okay. Look, I told you, Bill was a big guy, he was going to, that's why I like John.
I'm glad he's here.
No, thank you, Bill. We'll talk about that some other time.
Can we put that on the
But anyway,
agenda?
that was it. That was it for me. Susan, you know, your pink, suit right now gets you
Yes,
like a lot of
bright
attention.
pink in,
Yeah.
in appreciation of our employees, and as you saw, we have bright pink lights on all of our buildings at night for the month of April to show appreciation for our employees. So I attended the discussion event for border issues with federal officials that the chairman and Supervisor Lyons are talking about. The Elections Advisory Committee, has done a great job. They did a really thorough after-action report, things that they've learned that worked really well and they're going to continue to do, and then things that didn't work as well and they're going to work on improving those. So I'm committed to helping them with whatever I can do to support their efforts. I attended the YSIPTA board meeting. NACO was online this year, was a little awkward. I attended a couple of the sessions, but it was difficult. We've established the county task force on broadband, and I'll send you the membership just so you'll have that information. We're trying to set up a meeting soon with potential providers of broadband services to come to Yuma County and give us a pitch. We also met with Arizona at Work. Supervisor Pancrezi and I had a meeting with DES to negotiate goals for the next program year. And so we've successfully got through that process. And that concludes my report.
All right, is that it? I didn't get into any discussion, Bill, so with that, I don't think we have anything left on the agenda. So thank you all very much. And I don't know, there had a couple of people here that didn't say much, but thank you very much for attending, and this is the end of our discussions for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.